You up there? Hey, man, come back here. All of you guys.
I guess it'd be helpful if I had my mic on. Welcome, everybody. Let me pause this here. Let me know how I sound in chat. This is so eerie. Just such an impactful song, and it's being sung by these kids, and 3 hours later, all hell breaks loose. Let me move this down. No, come on, work with me. So, welcome everybody. Sorry, I'll get to chat in just a second here. So he is going to plea at 1 p.m. Eastern time, but they said that the live feed was alleged. Last time I looked, and we'll keep an eye on it, and I'll respond to chat here in a minute, but they said that they were going to go live like 15 minutes before, and I do have Courtroom TV, or Law and Crime, and they do have, it's funny because it's set at 9 a.m., which is 30 minutes past my time. So I'm assuming they're just waiting until that live feed comes in from the courtroom, because they said there's just going to be one feed for everybody. They're not having like, different networks coming in to film it live. They just have one live feed that everybody's going to tap into. So clearly I'm assuming Law and Crime and many others. So that's what we'll tune into. Again, it says 9 a.m. my time, but I'm assuming they're just waiting until the live feed comes in. And the last time I looked, it was supposedly my time, technically an hour and 15 minutes from now. Angel, good to see you. Good morning, everybody. I'm so upset by this plea deal. Yeah, I feel bad for the family. I feel like Idaho really dropped the ball on this, the poor families. Yeah, the families, I know some family members, of course, the Gonzalez family, they, man, it seems like they have never gotten a win in this case. And they're always just, I feel bad. But I did see somewhere, because, obviously 4 victims, 4 families. I think there was one video that said some are kind of divided. Some, wanted them to go through with it. And have him be judged by a group of his peers, but at the same time, you're getting a guaranteed guilty plea. Hi Cooper, hi Black Witter, Tracy, good to see you. Gene, Tyler, 76, Louise, good morning, good to see you. Cooper, I got you. Jill, good to see you. I was kind of hoping for a trial too. Obviously, a lot of people have been covering it. It would have been huge, and it was supposed to start in August, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. So again, I have the live feed ready last time I looked, and if anybody knows in chat, let me know. I will just kind of keep periodically looking at this. But if you haven't been following this case for a bit, because obviously I covered this case the second it was, it happened. Covered for months and months, more or less a year, and then it kind of, other cases popped up and kind of tapped out. And I always did want to come back because I knew the trial was coming this year, but we had Sebastian Rogers, then the Lily and Jack thing going on, so I've been kind of sidetracked. But I did want to get back into this. But has anybody, let me know in chat, has anybody seen the Dateline episode that came out more or less a month ago? It's called, I think, Terror on Kings Road, I think it's called. Let me know in chat, because I'm going to play some of the highlights from that. I can't actually play the actual Dateline thing because I'll get copyrighted, because it's still, if it was on YouTube, I could probably get around it. But I did watch it, and holy cow, there was so much information that I had not heard of. I had heard a few things, but and again, we'll do trigger warning when we get to it, but they talk a little bit more about what allegedly happened inside, and one of the wounds that happened to Ethan. It explains a lot more why blood's pouring out. Again, very graphic. Yeah, very sad. Yeah, so anybody's wondering, that the consensus is, and I'm sure they'll talk about it in Long Crime when they go live, is the last, again, and I haven't been watching a lot of the trial highlights, the pre-trial highlights, but I do know that allegedly, defense kept wanting, it's been 3 years, because this murder happened November 23rd? No, November 13th. Man, it's been that long. 2022. So it's been, just about 3 years. And you would think the defense would be ready by now, but they said they're not. And they wanted to push it back. They were blaming this Dateline thing that I just mentioned, because they were saying there was leaks. Because, there's a lot of stuff in this Dateline episode that I was like, holy shit, I've never heard of this. But it's more or less, and then just before that, the defense said, oh yeah, we do have some suspects, I think up to 4. Hopefully they're never named, because, these people's lives would have probably gotten ruined. But they did say they had, possible suspects on the defense side. But then that just goes to show that they obviously were bluffing, and they just weren't prepared enough. And it was like, with the death sentence on the line, the bluff was called, and they made a deal. I do think they should have spoken with the family first, but that did not happen, sadly. Yeah, I don't know. And so a lot of people are also wondering, will he explain what happened? I think they said that he is allowed to, but he's not required to. And I think it'll be a case of Chris Watts situation where he, we probably won't hear the why. But of course, this guy's a big narcissist, in my opinion. And when he's in prison or whatever, they'll go and do interviews, and I think we'll get the best story that we can get. So anybody, let me know in chat if you've seen the Dateline Terror on King Road. I'm going to play some highlights. They show video footage. They even have some of the audio from that neighbor. Holy shit, there's so much. I was blown away with how much. And again, I could see where the defense was kind of saying like, hey, this new documentary by Dateline has a lot of stuff that shouldn't be out there, and they were worried that it was going to tamper the jury pool. But that is always the argument, and I think that's always going to be the argument as we go forward with big cases, right? Because it's just the day and age.
The early morning hours of November.
So here's the trailer to the Dateline. Okay, you haven't seen. Okay, some have seen it, some haven't. So yeah, we'll go over it so we can just kind of till it starts again. Once it hits 9:45, they're supposed to go, and more or less an hour and 15 minutes from now is when they're supposed to start the live.
13th, 2022.
Maybe even a little bit earlier.
University of Idaho students Maddie Mogan, Kaylee Gonsalves, Xana Kernodle,
It's
Ethan
wild,
Chapman
man. It's wild.
were stabbed to death.
This is it. This is
Their
it.
accused killer, Bryan Kohberger, faces trial this summer. He's pleaded not guilty. For the last 2.5 years, Dateline has been on the ground, reporting, gathering, and learning from people with direct knowledge of the case. We've obtained things that have never before been seen publicly. Like these security videos from a camera on a house near the murder scene.
Yeah, they show all of them. In the trailer, the only one they don't show is after the murders. And I wish I could play that clip because because we can hear it on the audio from the other security cameras, and you can hear the car just peeling out, and he nearly hits this car over here. Like he comes around that corner after the murders so fast. I cannot believe he did not hit one of those cars.
Videos that show a white sedan, a car that investigators believe was driven by Bryan Kohberger, making repeated passes of the King Road house that night before the murders. With evidence like this and our reporting, we have assembled a timeline for the weeks, months, and days before and after the murders. Starting with a pool party Kohberger attended in July, just after he moved to the area in pursuit of his PhD in criminology. An exclusive interview with a woman who exchanged numbers with Kohberger, then did not return his text.
The universe intervened and for whatever reason just distracted me from further engaging in that interaction.
We'll also reveal records from Kohberger's cell phone that are in the possession of law enforcement and Google searches regarding the serial killer Ted Bundy. We have also seen these. Dozens of photos in Kohberger's cell.
So everybody's always wondered, and speculated what led him to the girls. What was the connection? Is it through Facebook friends, Instagram? And I think they have probably the best, scenario. Again, we won't know until Kohberger actually talks about it, but there is a link that they mentioned in the Dateline, which was really like, oh, this does make sense.
Cell phone, browsing history, women from Washington State and the University of Idaho, including close friends of the King Road victims. Dateline has also obtained records showing the details of what an FBI cell phone expert has claimed to be in the month before the murders. 23 occasions when Kohberger's phone connected to a cell tower, providing coverage to within 100 meters of the house at 1122 King Road. And in the hours after the murders, details of the timing of phone calls Bryan Kohberger made to a phone linked to his parents just before the controversial selfie he took. And we'll talk to them.
And that selfie, for those that don't know, oops, let's see, can I go back to it? All right, here.
Just before the controversial.
Yeah, keep that. If you guys don't know the context to that, this is right after the murders. And if you can see in the background, he's actually in the shower. And this was taken right after. This is like, I don't know, like, if anybody knows the exact time, I think they have a timestamp somewhere. But yeah, it's clearly hours after the murders when he got back home, and he clearly got cleaned up. And I mean, how eerie is that? In the bathroom, clearly had, cleaned up. Absolutely
Selfie
creepy.
He took. And we'll talk to the mother whose daughter was supposed to be staying in the house the night of the murders, but a change of plans may have saved her daughter's life.
So the Dateline is out there. I think you can find it on Hulu, Fubi. Is it Fubi? It's not Tubi, so I know that one's a free one. I know Hulu, and I know Disney and Hulu kind of, have a bundle thing. There's like 2 other ones. I could look it up, but yeah, it's already been out there. It's been out there for about a month. The defense was livid on this because they're claiming they got inside sources leaking stuff.
How soon was it that you thought, my God, she was going to be there?
I didn't think about that right away.
Oh.
All I could think about was the kids.
makes you sad too, doesn't it?
It does.
Oh yeah, and the date. Sure. Yeah.
So many damaged families. Angela Nevejas told us that her daughter Ashlyn, Maddie Mogan's best friend, moved away from Idaho and now refuses to come home to visit because of the trauma associated with the murders. She's hoping some of that may change and Ashlyn will start to grieve after Bryan Kohberger's trial. Back to you, Greg and Savannah.
Such a heartbreaking story, Keith.
So,
Thank you. And we know.
again, that's just the trailer. Okay, I'm just going to go over some of the highlights from this Dateline again, because I can't. Even if I had it, I would probably... Yeah, FUBU. Did I say Fubi? Yeah, FUBU. Jesus. Thanks for the correction. So many out there now. Yeah. Yeah, so I know there's quite a few. I know Dateline does have, a YouTube channel, and I think after, because it's only been a month since they released it, obviously with the court, they'll eventually make it free, if you do wait long enough. But anyway, so here is the live feed again. If you're just tuning in, it's supposed to start at 1 p.m. Eastern time, but I had looked at the website, and it said that they were probably going to start the feed 15 minutes early, so that would have been 12:45 Eastern Standard Time, which again is literally 1 hour from now. So, and again, since I covered this case from the beginning, and then of course I just fell off from it, but here is some of the highlights from that Dateline. Oh, is it 10:30, Gene? Okay, thank you. I'm going to write that down. All right, so I'm sorry. The PSYOP thing, I love conspiracies as much as the next person, but the guy's literally, caught red-handed. He's filmed from he, as someone that was supposedly studying criminology, he messed up every single step of the way. He's literally caught on every other camera, leaving from his home to the crime scene. All this previous stuff. I'm sorry. Again, I respect if you don't feel that way, but again, if he's innocent, he's not going to go for pleading this. They bluffed, and it was called on. So anyway, let's go over the Dateline. So he bought a K-bar knife. Obviously, this was pretty, well known. It's been well known for, I think, well over a year. 8 months prior to the murder. And so this is, I think, when he's still in Pennsylvania, living with his family. Obviously, he got off Amazon. This is very important because he'll go back to Amazon again much later. June 25th, he takes a picture of his car, and I think he starts driving from Pennsylvania to Pullman, Washington. Now, he doesn't arrive, according to this, until June 30th. And then, of course, he would study at Washington State University. Then the pool party, July 9th, happens in Moscow. And it takes place at an apartment complex called The Grove. And that party, he was being awkward to the girls. He was getting a few numbers from them. I think one girl does an interview. We just saw it earlier. And he literally texted her the next day because she's like, oh, yeah, we sometimes go hiking. And he literally texts like, hey, I'd like to know those hiking details. Let me know. It was just like an awkward, weird text to her, in my opinion. And then he is also trying to make friends with this DJ who also does an interview in it. Shortly after that, they noticed, going through his phone, that he started saving pics of girls in bikinis from social media. And I'm assuming a lot probably from Instagram or something like that. From July almost up to the murders, obviously is another well-known thing. Bryan's phone pinged near the closest tower to the 1122 King Road apartment. This was over like 20 times through July up to the murders. Very weird. August 16th, looks up a paper and research on Ted Bundy. Of course, very well-known serial killer. And it's actually, what's interesting is I live in Utah. He did do a little bit of, running rampant in Utah as well. He was actually caught here, and the jail that he was caught at, it was kind of cool because actually saw like his fingerprint done at that place. That was when I had to go to the jail because I was going to start working at the post office, and of course you got to go through an extensive background and get your fingerprints taken. Anyway, it was really cool because right above the printer where they're taking your fingerprints, they have now digital fingerprint things. Really cool. But it had where he was arrested and stuff. It was really cool. Anyway, moving on. But of course, that, very creepy. August, while working at WSU, he became a teacher's assistant. And then started causing problems, according to the students, especially towards females. That was well known way back in the day as well, that, he was, had issues with women. And there is kind of like a backstory where he was supposed to end up being like kind of like a security law enforcement. He was like, I forget the story if anybody can correct me, but I do remember he was in a program that he was going to be, onto like law enforcement or something, and then he had issues. There was some issue with one or more ladies, and he was kicked out of the program, and some people think that was a possible catalyst to him, going after women. Then this is where some newer stuff that has come out that I thought was very interesting. Wow, Nightbot is going nuts over here. Is Nightbot okay? It's probably just running late. Anyway, thank you, Jennifer, for coming in. Good to see you, sweetheart. So this is where things get really wild. So he shared an office. So since he was, I don't know if this is part of the teacher assistant, but he shared an office with another foreign student, and I might have spelled her name wrong. I think it's Nayung Cool or something like that, Cole. She also lived at the same apartment complex as him. Now, this is very important. And they kind of connected, and she actually said that she kind of like felt something for Bryan because like they were both kind of outsiders, and okay, I was just waiting for it to move. There we go. And so, yeah, they kind of made a connection, but then things would get weird. So Bryan Kohberger would continue to save girls of bikinis from Instagram. And this is where the connection could be, where he had found these victims. So again, he was saving pictures of girls in bikinis from Washington State University, but as well from Idaho State University. Pics of girls that happened to be followed by and even friends with some to up to 3 of the victims, Kaylee, Xana, and Maddie. And they really believed that Maddie was the main target. Because obviously Maddie and Kaylee were the first two attacked. But again, there hasn't been like, as far as I know, there hasn't been like one straight direct connection to the victims, but I think this is the closest thing. And it wouldn't be hard, you're looking at, a girl, and then you see her friends list, and then there's Kaylee, Xana, Maddie, whatever, and then maybe he got fixated with them. September 10th, this foreign student, Nayung, that they were sharing an office with and, living in the same apartment. She comes home one after a night or whatever, and she finds all these items. I think she had a cake and cosmetics, and they were all moved around in her house. How absolutely creepy to come into your apartment and find your items. I think like her cosmetics, correct me if you, for those that have seen it, like they said her cosmetics were lined up on the toilet like stand or whatever. Like really weird shit. Super weird. But for those that, but of course, this is something that I never heard about. So she felt like, obviously, because someone broke into her apartment, and the only person she really knew was Bryan Kohberger. So that night, she actually spent the night at his home. Thank God she made it through the night. But then she said she started having suspicions about Bryan Kohberger. And then this is where the link comes around to it was likely Bryan that did this. Again, allegedly. So she noticed when she went back to the office. Now remember, they shared an office, Nayun and Bryan Kohberger. And they noticed when she looked in the drawer that they shared that she had an apartment key in there. Well, it was missing. And this is just after she had her home invasion and had things rearranged in her home. So obviously the only person she shared that with was Bryan Kohberger. So she asked like, hey, have you seen my keys? And apparently he said, no, I have no idea. And then later that day, she goes back to check the drawer and the keys are in there. Her apartment keys are now in there. I mean, who else? I mean, again, I think it's pretty clear who broke into the apartment. And I think, again, as a sociopath, allegedly, you know, that was like him, you know, working up to things, in my opinion. Clyde says, yeah, his eyes tell you a lot about someone. I canceled the date because the guy's eyes freaked me out. Oh, yeah. There's, what's his name? Just did, we'll look it up on the internet. Let me just check here real quick. Okay. So if you're just tuning in, what do we got? 400 people. Again, just to reiterate, we're recapping some of the latest leaks that happened within the past month. I haven't covered this case in a long time, so again, some people have heard this stuff, some people haven't. We're basically on the hour. It's supposed to allegedly start 1 hour from now, but they said that they're going to start the live feed 15 minutes early. So technically, within 45 minutes to 50 minutes, we should get a live feed into the courtroom. Oh, the comment. Yeah, there was that guy. What's his name? Tell me, what's his name? The Bryan Kohberger. And I'll finish this. I just want to get this up. Oh, actually, let me look at my history. I'm sure I just had it up there. Dr. G. Was it Dr. G? There it is.
Hey everybody, Dr. G here.
So again, I want to play his video because I want to like get copy striked. I don't know if he would do that, but great channel. If you haven't seen it, he's obviously an expert in body language analysis. Actually, let me play one clip because this says it all right here.
Over and over again yet, so we're going to get to look at
right here. Okay.
Mouth he doesn't do a while ago.
So let me just play one clip, and then of course, because I don't want to get in trouble or anything, but definitely check out his video. It's very interesting. So here he shows that, of course, because if he is a sociopath, psychopath, whatever, he doesn't have the same, he's wired differently than most average people. And it shows right here, he points out when he sits down and he's going to look to Anne, I think it's Anne, and does a quick smile, but then goes right back to just his dead face.
But it also has some of the freshest body language because he hadn't been in court over and over and over again yet. So we're going to get to look at some things early on. And this is also something that his defense team noticed. They saw my video on this previously.
Yeah,
they put it in one of their filings. Guy. We'll talk about that in just a minute. All right, let's just jump right in.
And boom.
One of the things that really stands out about Bryan Kohberger is that the mask goes away as quickly as it comes on. He's someone that shows so little emotion on his face. That's why anything that we get stands out so much. You very rarely see anything in the brow. There doesn't tend to be much in the mouth. He doesn't do a lot of soothing behaviors. He doesn't touch his face. He doesn't do a lot of the things that most people do in court. And when you see him actually demonstrate or try to demonstrate emotion for a second, it's always so brief. Now, I know people are not.
It looks awkward too. You could tell it's just not genuine. Like, oh God, I'm so happy to see my attorney that has been representing me. That is giving me a chance. It is just darkness. Yes, Peacock. Thank you, Leela Love. Yes, Peacock. I love Peacock. I had to cancel it, but Peacock is a great streaming. They got a lot of good stuff on there. Anyway, yeah, great channel, great video. I think he just put it out a couple days ago, after hearing that they were gonna probably be doing this. Okay, so remember, back to the story with Nayun. This, I don't know if she's Asian. I'm just gonna say Asian. I'm not sure her nationality exactly, and I do apologize, and I hope I didn't mispronounce her name. In the documentary, I don't think they spell her name out. They just say what her name is. So I went with the best I could, and yeah. So anyway, so remember, she had her apartment broken into in September 10th. Things moved around. Next day, finds out her apartment key is missing. Asks Bryan Kohberger, which is the office they share together, like, hey, have you seen my key? Says no. And then later that day, the key's back. Like, I mean, come on. Then, which is really odd, I don't know why she did this, but again, it just kind of shows that she only, in a way, it's like she trusted him, but at the same time suspected him. But she would later, so if you guys remember hearing about a story about him installing cameras for one of the neighbors, this is that lady. This is Nayun. Of course, a young lady. I'm not sure the exact age, but around the age of Kohberger, college student. But then after he helped install the cameras, she was worried that he could look it up on his phone. And so that's about as much as we hear from her. Then we heard that, of course, later September, October even, he would drive to Moscow, Idaho, ping at the nearest tower that is closest to the 1122 King Road home. Hey, guy, good to see you. Yeah, such a great guy. Hey, Donna B. Yeah, I'm assuming you're referring to Dr. G. He's amazing. Would he have been tried in a state where they carry out the death penalty? Is that why he wanted? Yes, Paul. This is a death penalty state, and yes, because this is a gruesome murder for, baby. I mean, I know they're more or less adults, but really they're not. I mean, they're just barely even getting into adolescence, and just snuffed out like that brutally. And we're gonna trigger warning because again, I kind of had to speed this up, and I'll explain why when we get calmed down a little bit. But I just want to go over some of the things that just blew me away. But trigger warning right now. We're going to talk about a few of the deaths. Again, I'm not going into exact detail, but just some stuff that we didn't know, but blew me away. So remember, November 10th is a Thursday. Now, they were killed, Sunday morning, right? Because they had a football game Saturday night. That is the 12th. Thursday, Friday. Yeah. So Thursday, so get this. This is also a huge red flag. Bryan Kohberger would cease all credit card activity. He he shut down all of his credit cards. Or credit card. I don't know if he had more than one. But, like, that's a little suspicious. Just a couple days before the murder, you're ceasing all, transactions that can tied back to you and your movement, especially if you're going to buy gas or something. Not only that, but on November 11th, 12th, I think they kind of like say, Friday, Saturday, somewhere in there, he would go to the school and erase data from his school PC. Now, again, I put wiping criminal data. Please take that with a grain of salt. Again, but what else would you be doing? You're ceasing all your credit card activity days before this quadruple homicide. A day or two before, you're erasing data from your school PC. Then, sadly, November 13th, the murders happen in approximately 4:10. Okay. And again, there's a few things I remember hearing about what happened to Kaylee and Maddie, and I'm a little vague, so if you can correct me if I'm wrong, please. In this part, there's a few things I know that have been said, and then a few things I'm trying to it's been 2 years. But he goes upstairs, and we'll do the timeline if we got time. Let me just check here. Oh, sorry.
You're counting into me? Yeah, pics. Lots of pics.
Okay, they're just starting.
This is
All right, let's finish this real quick, and then we'll kind of check in and go back and forth, because I'm assuming... All right, November 13th. So he goes to Kaylee and Maddie's bedroom, right? They're both in bed together. Now, they believe the intended target was Maddie. And then poor Kaylee was up against the bed and the wall. So he starts stabbing Maddie first, right? Because Gonsalves is to the side. And I think he even punched one of them. Correct me in the chat. Does anyone remember? I remember someone like him punching one or both of them. Which was absolutely terrible. And, of course, he did a lot of damage to him. I'm not going to get too much into that. And poor Kaylee was, stuck because he's stabbing Maddie. And Kaylee's just kind of boxed in. And poor thing just couldn't defend herself.
The Ada County Courthouse in Boise, Idaho. This is where
hold on, let me turn this down.
Bryan Kohberger, the man accused.
Okay. I mean, they're just starting. And we'll turn into it in a minute.
This is
Then this is something. Yeah, he punched Kaylee, right? Oh, it was Kaylee that he punched. Didn't he break her nose or something like that? Anyway, yeah, it was Kaylee. Thank you. Then this is new information. So we always knew that Xana was up. Remember, she ordered DoorDash, and she was on her TikTok account around this time. And I even theorized, and I'm sure I'm not the only person. Others did. I figured she probably was downstairs wandering around in the kitchen because she just got her food. And now this guy's upstairs, and she's hearing some weird shit. And so what we didn't know is we kind of thought that Bryan came down and then saw Xana. But apparently Xana went to upstairs to investigate.
From the Ada County
now
Courthouse
this is where it
Boise,
ties
Idaho.
into
This
where,
is
because
where
remember he left
Bryan
the sheath from the
Kohberger,
K-bar
man
behind.
He stands accused right
Sorry,
now
I need
of
to
murdering
turn this
4
down.
University
Sorry.
of Idaho students.
That's what I meant to do. So that was new to me, and I thought that was really huge because it adds a little more context. So this poor Xana, going to investigate what the hell is going on. Kohberger turns his attention to her, chases her down the stairs. When he does that, he leaves the sheath behind. Huge. So in a way, Xana did, again. Oops. So she runs to the bedroom of Ethan, where Ethan sadly is kind of passed out because obviously they'd been drinking. Before she could, again, we don't know exact details, kind of theorized, but she put up a hell of a fight, but he still stabbed her, sadly, multiple times. And with Ethan, he's passed out. Now, apparently, I think he wakes up, but Kohberger stabs him in I'm not sure, but in an artery. And it's fatal artery. So he only has minutes, probably less, depending on what artery he hits. Maybe in the neck, I don't know. But then, this is the disturbing thing. is Kohberger actually carved on his legs. Keep in mind, this is the bedroom where, remember the photos of the blood leaking through? That was Kaylee and Ethan's room. So when I heard that not only did he hit an artery, but that he carved into his legs, ugh, what a monster. What an absolute monster. And then apparently sat down on the bed for a minute, because obviously all the adrenaline. I'm assuming they have, because there was apparently footprints. Remember, we even talked about this in a live, or I did a video. There was some footprints that were rumored. And apparently this is true. Because remember, they found a couple of footprints towards the foyer or whatever, where he's kind of walking into the kitchen. At the same time, you have the whole Dylan Mortson checking on, hearing, this weird stuff, and somebody saying, it's okay, let me help, I'm here to help you. Apparently that was to, at least the story in Dateline is that Dylan came out of a room, because I was always thought that when Kohberger said, it's okay, I'm here to help, he was saying that to Xana as she was running. And that could still be. That makes kind of more sense to me. But then there's the other story they tell in Dateline that it might be Dylan that kind of went to investigate, heard somebody's voice that she didn't recognize, and ran back into her room. And luckily, he walked out. Yeah, and she ended up being in a frozen panic state. She clearly had just gone DoorDash. Poor Xana, clearly, probably getting her food, doing a TikTok, and then hearing this weird, strange stuff. Hey, Sensei, good to see you. And Jennifer, my mods, obviously this is a normal time that I'm in. So let's tune in. Let's see this so I can go grab a drink. Let's see what they're saying.
His father, that he is supporting this plea agreement. So it'll be interesting to see what happens when court begins in earnest. Right now, I want to bring in our panel. We have a great panel with me today. Tara Malik is a criminal defense attorney and former
prosecutor. Is the volume really soft on this?
Has covered a lot of cases.
I can boost the audio, but this sounds really soft to me.
A high-profile defense attorney, also an entertainment attorney. Represented a lot of high-profile defendants. So Tara, I'll go to you first because you're based here.
Let me know in chat.
Idaho.
I can boost the audio in 2 seconds.
What do you think about the defense reaching out to the prosecution at the 11th hour, so close to trial, and saying, "Hey, let's make a deal"?
Okay. Why am I hearing we're not even hearing her? That boosted it.
The plain human courage to face the families, to meet our eyes and ask, how do we make an offer that works? Instead, Thompson cut his deal with the devil. His negotiations didn't require anything other than a simple guilty plea, allowing him the leeway to blame the same people you are paid to protect. You betrayed us, Thompson. Your deal fails to shield the innocent. You could have stood tall and made damn sure the blame stayed where it belongs, not on us, not on the broken survivors, still carrying the weight of your repeated failures. This is our courtroom now. This moment, this stand, our voices rise to every American who will listen. We would have provided basic protection for the roommates, the best friends, the fallen vet. God rest his soul, and every soul affected in our shattered community.
All these poor people listening
this
in,
is what they
can't hear
wanted. First, truth, spill it, BK, every sickening detail only the killer could know, the kind that twists your guts just to hear, but turns even simpleton pro-burgers against you. Pro-burgers are what people online call Bryan Kohberger's supporters, the people who have been saying he's innocent.
Yeah, and I'm sorry. It's been, this case, he is there's just so much evidence that I know people love good conspiracies and, alternate theories in cases like this, but this guy, there's DNA, there is everything. There is literally a play-by-play of him driving from his home. He's caught on just about every other camera from his home. He turns off his phone, and we can go over that if this kind of gets a little still.
Second, you bear the guilt, all of it alone. You don't get to smear the survivors, the ones still waking to nightmares born of your reckless choices. Third, no cashing in on our grief.
Arlene.
No books, no private interviews with your ex-professor. No one is allowed to study you because you're not special. You don't get to spit on our kids' graves by making this all about you. Only Hitler can step into this void, mend the wreckage Thompson left in Latah's so-called justice system. It goes on and on. Bradford Cohen, you're a criminal defense attorney. I need your response on this. Oh, actually, Bradford, we're going to come back. We're going to come back to you, Bradford, and get your thoughts on that. We need to take a quick break. Everyone, stay with us. Please drop your questions into the chat, and we'll get back with you and answer them as soon as we can. For now, I'm Anjanette Levy, and we are taking your questions and covering the possible plea hearing of Bryan Kohberger live from the Ada County Courthouse in Boise, Idaho. Stay with us.
Let me know how the sound is from her. Okay. I don't think we're going to get a lot. Obviously, we still have, well, God, I mean, it's 10:20. So for those, if you can, please hit that like button. Again, we're going to keep an eye on this. It's supposed to start on the hour, but technically the live stream inside the courtroom is supposed to happen 15 minutes before. So 30 minutes from now. Okay, we'll come back to her.
Out to point to a possible motive. Dateline also revealed who investigators believed was the intended target that morning and the order in which the 4 students were killed. We'll talk more about that in a bit. It's actually something we've discussed here a few times on Crime Fix in the past. Kohberger's lawyers have said he maintains his innocence in the murders of Maddie Mogen, Kaylee Gonsalves, Ethan Chapin, and Xana Kernodle in the early morning hours of November 22nd, 2022. Now, prosecutors have said they linked Bryan Kohberger to the murders on King Road through a single source of DNA left on a K-bar knife sheath just like this one. That DNA left on the inner snap of the knife sheath. This knife sheath, the one's very similar to this one, was left next to Maddie Mogen's body.
One thing I also want to mention, sorry to interrupt, is so remember, he ordered one 8 months before the murder. He was literally, he was in Amazon. I forget the date. It's not long after the murders. He literally, I don't know if this is when he's back with his parents. I think it is. He goes to Amazon, and he's literally looking at a K-bar and puts it in his shopping cart and is literally ready to hit buy. And then for some reason backs out. And then days later, he looks up K-bars again. I think he thought, okay, it's been a couple months, because it took 2 months to catch him or something. It's been a month. Maybe after things get cool, I'll start to, wait for my next victim.
On her bed. Kohberger was taken into custody at his parents' home in Pennsylvania on December 30th, 2022. Police have revealed in hearings that he was wearing a black hoodie, and they feared he was destroying evidence, so they broke down the door of his parents' house, rushed in, and took him into custody. Police said they could see Kohberger in his parents' kitchen using a drone with a video feed. Kohberger's lawyers have said his parents were zip-tied, and Kohberger was taken into custody, and Kohberger, in his own kind of odd way, suggested to the officers that they get coffee sometime at a later date. Kohberger's lawyers have suggested that that is just one example of the way in which he lacks the ability to pick up on social cues because he has autism. But back to this new information that's come out.
Autism, sociopathic, Emo,
Kohberger was working on getting his PhD at Washington State University in Pullman, Washington. He left Pennsylvania for Washington in late June. He got his Washington driver's license on July 1st. Later in July, Bryan Kohberger went to a pool party in Moscow at the Grove Apartments. We've reported on that in the past. But Dateline reports Kohberger made some women there uncomfortable, including a married woman who had to signal to her husband to come over and intervene. A woman named Holly told Dateline that she exchanged numbers with Kohberger at that party. She said he later texted her about their shared interest in hiking.
So here's another thing. And there's the thing. Hey, I'm pretty sure we spoke about hiking. This is from Kohberger to that lady. Hi, I'm pretty sure we spoke about hiking trips yesterday. I really enjoyed that activity. So please let me know. Thanks. Again, it's not the weirdest text, but again, like texting a girl the next day, like, I feel like that could be worded much better. Like, hey, we spoke, hey, if you go on a hiking trip, and if you got room for another one, please let me know. I don't think I would be texting a girl the next day. That's just not my style. But anyway, yeah. But here's the weird thing I also didn't mention. So at that same party, he met this DJ that was weirded out by him. And he also hiked. And I guess there's a place to hike, I think on the Washington state of it. I could be wrong, somewhere in there. And that DJ and some others were hiking. And it was kind of in the evening. Now, when they were coming back down, it was nighttime now, right? Because I think they timed it to where they could get up there while it's still light. And by the time they're getting back, it's now dark. And so as this guy's coming back down in the dark, who shows up? Bryan Kohberger. And stops him and acts like they're best buddies. And then all of a sudden, Bryan Kohberger just darts off up the trail. In the middle of the night. Like, how creepy. Like, this is those, like, stories you hear where, a lady's jogging or whatever, a victim, and you have a stalker out there. Just weird. I'm sure he did. Yeah.
Text was oddly formal, she said. It read, "Hey, I am pretty sure we spoke about hiking trips yesterday. I really enjoyed that activity, so please let me know. Thanks." Holly told Dateline she got distracted and never responded. The following month, on August 16th, Dateline says Bryan Kohberger's cell phone records show he Googled Ted Bundy's name with a typo, and a paper written about Bundy by one of his professors entitled Ted Bundy on the Malignant Being, an Analysis of the Justification.
I was fascinated with Bundy well before I was into true crime, and, because I just was into that kind of stuff because I was brought into horror. My best friend, he did like stunt work. He worked on horror films. I won't get into that. Those that have been with me know what I'm talking about. But so I got into horror, and then of course Ted Bundy, because here in Utah, obviously I believe the girl that escaped was the one from here in Utah when she got out of the bug, and that was a huge deal. And he was caught shortly after. But, oh my God, the stuff he did is terrible.
Investigatory discourse of a serial killer. Ted Bundy killed women in the 1970s. He went to college in Washington State and then moved east to Florida.
My mother remembers when they heard that he was going to be likely, could be in around this area, and everybody was like kind of on a curfew, more or less.
Killing 2 sorority sisters at the Chi Omega house in January of 1978. He was sentenced to death. And
I think what happened is I think they probably zip-tied him. I don't think he zip-tied him, because it did make it sound like Kohberger zip-tied his parents. I think it was police force. Obviously, they're breaking in. It's it's a possible serial killer. Who knows? Is he going to take his family, hostage, or whatever? Or will his family, obviously, because that's unconditional love. It's always going to be unconditional love, no matter what. Anyway, I think obviously they broke in, they zip tied everybody up. I think that was worded wrong. Let me know if you think differently. Hey, Emo. Hey, Chris. Good to see you again. I think what got BK to this deal is the prosecution was going to have the DoorDash lady testify that she saw him. Yeah. I think it was a lot of things, but that could definitely be
executed in 1989. Ironically, Bryan Kohberger's mother had actually written to her local paper at the time opposing the death penalty for Ted Bundy. But that was before Bryan Kohberger was even born. That same day, on August 16th, Maddie Mogan had posted a photo on Instagram of her and her roommates. And
some think this might have been, he might have came across this. Again, this is just rumor. I think the one where he was looking up girls on Instagram from Washington State University and literally found friends of the girls, and then it wouldn't be hard to just, because clearly he is trolling through all these girls, saving their pics. I don't think it's hard. He found, Maddie, Kaylee, Xana, and then got
that very same day, a noise complaint was called into Moscow police for the house on King Road.
Okay, let's see what they're saying live here. Uh-oh. Okay. So...
but I want to get to Bradford Cohen on this one. Bradford, Steve Gonsalves is furious. Your thoughts on what I just told you that he said.
Okay, I'm going to ask one more time.
And this plea agreement and how it was reached within days and no real face-to-face, in-person meeting with the families about this as far as we know.
And thank you so much,
Jim.
God bless you, buddy.
Over Zoom.
Sure. So when it comes to these type of cases, it is outrageous, to be quite honest. It doesn't matter if you're a defense attorney, if you're a state attorney, if you're a civil attorney, you know that individuals need to be contacted. The fact that in this type of case, not even putting aside that it was this, TV and everybody's paying attention to it, high profile case, putting that all aside, just the fact that it is a murder case and the way that these murders happened and how many of them happened, to not sit down for a state attorney, to not sit down with a family face to face and either A, discuss it face to face about this plea and why it's a good plea or a bad plea, get their input, and then do whatever you're going to do. It's really shocking. I've just never seen it before. I've never seen a state attorney, and I've dealt with cases across the country, where the state attorney would not sit down in this type of case, a murder case, and ask the victims' families what they think about a plea. And even if he's going to ignore that, to tell them, hey, listen, this is what I'm going to do. I understand your position, but be enough of a man to at least sit down and look at them in the face and tell them why you're making this deal. In addition to that, they get nothing in this deal. So essentially, the state gets nothing. The state avoids a trial, but that's what they're there for. They charge the most ridiculous crimes in other cases and pick up cases where they shouldn't because of who the defendant is. That's my personal opinion, of course. But in this case, where you have a murder case and the judge is denying every single motion the defense is making, and it, for all intents and purposes, it looks like, and there is no slam dunk, but it looks like this case is one of the cases where, you're not going to have trouble at trial. To give up the death penalty and get nothing in return, the only thing they get in return is not going to trial. It's really disgusting, to be quite honest with you. Listen, I'm looking for words to describe it. I understand this father of a slain child and the individuals, the families of these slain kids. And that's what they were. They were kids just kind of starting their careers, starting their college careers. It really is a disgusting thing that can happen. Now, here's the question, and it's a big question. Depending on how these murders were carried out, depending on what weapon was used and where that weapon was made, is there a possibility that the feds could pick it up? That's a big question, because there are ways that the feds can look at what people would think would be state cases, and they could possibly...
Yeah, sorry, just to pause. Again, they're... Obviously, we'll keep playing this. But, yeah, I really... Yeah, I do feel bad for the families. I just worry because some of these last cases that are high profile, there's always a split. And then I feel like depending on which split has a bigger group, that it really starts to tear down the other side so much that I feel like there's people that are worried to kind of speak out. on the other side, because it's almost like more one side's kind of, it's kind of the mob mentality. And, there was something else I was going to say. But yeah, I think at the end of the day, guilty is good. We know he's going to be behind prison, of course. I feel bad for the families. I think at least one of them is happy. Well, again, I don't want to say, because I've heard that they were split. But again, that could have been just a clickbait title. I don't know.
Bootstrap them into federal court. Like, I'm looking at the weapon that they suppose was used. It looks on there like it was made in New York. Making it in New York would be the Commerce Clause, right? You'd cross state lines for that. I don't know, because I don't know all the facts and circumstances of the case, but certainly there are ways that these type of cases can be brought in a federal forum, which I can assure you the family would be finding justice in a federal forum, more justice than they are in this state forum where they got absolutely nothing for this deal. That he's not even doing an allocution is crazy to me. I've never heard of it.
Yeah, I find it odd with facts like this, and I spoke with a death penalty prosecutor yesterday who said, with facts like this, I wouldn't deal on this case. I would have all of the facts on my side, and he finds it unbelievable. Yes, Kohberger has a Fifth Amendment right to stay silent, but they could have made allocution a part of this plea agreement. They chose not to. They could have said, tell us what you did with the knife. Who did you target and why?
Right. I mean, because if you're pleading guilty, what does it matter? If you're getting off the death penalty, what else worse is going to happen except you maybe have, again, he is not wired like most of us. So I still think if he does not talk, I don't think we're going to probably get anything during this. I don't know. Maybe I think he's allowed to, but he's not required to. That's what I heard yesterday. That could change. Who knows? Maybe just a quick thing. But I think it'll be, let me know what you think in chat. I think it'll be a Chris Watt situation where a year later, within a year, an interview's done, and it'll probably be multiple interviews knowing him, and he'll give tidbits along the way.
Because there's still a lot of questions here that could be answered, and the families, I think, deserve answers if they want those answers. And the feds, I think they could potentially charge in this case because of crossing state lines. I'm not a federal prosecutor, obviously.
Again, sorry to pause. This is the last time. I'm going to go full screen so I can go check my AC. But this is the picture he took right after the murders. Someone said around 10:30 a.m. He's in the shower. Clearly, he just got cleaned up. And look at that. Look at that smile. We know we don't see his face like that. He doesn't have much of expression. So he's got a thumbs up. I mean, holy shnikes.
And have never been a federal prosecutor, but he crossed from Washington into Idaho to commit these murders. And there was some, there's also some potential, there were some suspicions about stalking using the internet and phones, things of that nature. We don't know if that actually happened, but there was a suspicion about that. Tara, your response to Steve Gonsalves, what I told you, he said, again, I just tweeted those clips out on X, posted them on X, and then Law and Crime will be reposting them as well.
Well, I can certainly understand why he would be upset, why the families or some of the families would be upset here. I mean, this is a really heinous crime that occurred. These were incredibly young victims. Certainly understand being upset about this result. At the same time, the prosecutors have a job, and that job isn't necessarily representing victims. The job is to represent the state. That's a really harsh reality, and it's very difficult.
This is one thing I've said. I don't think, because, he's broken mentally, sadly, in a way. He just, again, not to excuse what he's done. He's a monster. Sadly, he's just wired a different way. There was something I was going to get to. But yeah, oh no, I think ever since the killings and this whole court thing, he's probably living more than he's ever lived, if that makes sense. And I really do think he'll do interviews, because that is like that's his,
But
that's his control. That's what he gets off on. Again, I'm no expert. That's just my opinion.
It doesn't take away the emotion, and it certainly doesn't help in this type of situation where at least Steve Gonsalves disagrees with what we believe to be the arrangement or plea agreement
you want me
that's supposed to occur today.
Do you want me to turn it up just a little bit? Let me see here real quick. And while I do that, I'm just going to go grab a drink. So I'm just go full screen for you guys. I'll just be gone for 2 seconds.
His feelings about not being looped into the discussions regarding plea agreement, that's certainly concerning. My understanding is that the possibility of a plea agreement was discussed early last week, but it wasn't until later that the families were notified that the plea agreement had been accepted. So difficult circumstances all around here.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is a difficult circumstance. And the Chapin family, I should mention, Ethan Chapin's family, they are here in support of the plea agreement. Maddie Mogen's father, Ben Mogen, has told media outlets he is supporting the plea agreement. We haven't heard from Maddie's mother, Karen Laramie, yet on whether she is supporting it. Xana Kernodle's aunt is not in support of it, but we haven't heard from her father. So there are a lot of questions here. But, again, I've spoken to at least one prosecutor who's handled death penalty cases who said that, you would have a sit-down, lengthy, face-to-face conversation about this typically before you would move forward with something like this. And this would be handled in person, and it would be more than just a passing mention before moving forward with something like this in a case of this magnitude. And I know people around here, when I was on the plane last night and when I landed, were buzzing about this. So people there are very mixed and split reactions to this decision. We are going to take your questions now because that hearing will be starting in about 29 minutes. That's when it's scheduled, and we'll be bringing that to you live here on Law and Crime. And please continue to drop your questions in the YouTube chat, and Bradford, Tara, and I will get to all of them as soon as we can. Our first question is a super chat question. Thanks for the super chat, Curly Girl. Can the judge take the DP off the table and still have the trial? Tara, I think that would be unlikely, but could the judge strike the death penalty and still order a trial?
No, that's not what we have today that's going to occur. What is likely to occur today, if it's indeed a plea change, is the parties, one or both, will put what the plea agreement is on the table. The judge will then engage the defendant in a plea colloquy, which is basically a conversation to make sure that any plea that he's entering or may enter is knowing and voluntary, that it's not he's not under the influence of anything, that he hasn't been coerced into making it. So the agreement is what it is, and so long as it's knowingly, the entry of a guilty plea is knowingly and voluntarily made with the advice of counsel, then the judge will accept it and will move forward to sentencing.
Tara, what is your feeling on why Bill Thompson wouldn't require or make, as part of the plea agreement, make it contingent upon him pleading guilty, like make it a requirement? Yes, he has a Fifth Amendment right, but you're willing to plead guilty and go to prison for the rest of your life. Why wouldn't Bill Thompson say, tell us where the knife is and tell us what happened?
Yeah.
Well, we don't know whether he did or not. We don't have the details of the plea agreement. We have a general understanding of what we believe the plea agreement is. We'll likely be hearing more of the details of that plea and what was negotiated between the parties on the record today. They will have to disclose that to the court. And so there may have been a component about giving up certain information, but right now we just have very limited information as to the conditions of this plea.
Okay, so I just wanted to, because I know we kind of got people coming in and out. So it's supposed to allegedly start at the top of the hour, which is in 20 minutes. But I heard that the live feed for the courtroom allegedly will start in it's almost 10:40 my time, so 10:45. So we'll have to see. It should be. I'm gonna kind of skip this forward because I'm kind of behind like a few minutes. But we should allegedly, from what they said, within 10 minutes we should get the live feed to the actual courtroom, and then when they do that, I may just let it go full screen. Depending on how the screen is or whatever, we'll try to fix it.
Bradford, our next viewer question comes from NR. NR asks, is it a coincidence that he pleads right after the DoorDash driver is exposed as a potential witness? And this is the woman that was captured on body camera during a traffic stop, totally unrelated to this case. It was she was pulled over for DUI. She was under the influence, and she said, I have PTSD because my husband was killed right in front of me years ago, and I'm the DoorDash driver. I have to testify. I saw Bryan. This was almost 2 years after the crime. During a DUI traffic stop, the prosecutors had previously said there was only one person who saw the killer that night, and it was the surviving roommate. So she said she parked right next to him. I saw Bryan. So we don't know what she actually told the investigators about that night. We just know what she said during a traffic stop for an OVI. So do you think there's...
That's funny. Someone just said that. And that's the only one thing I didn't get to snag up is the DoorDash driver, because I know that's been kind of making the headlines in the last 2 weeks. I think it's a combination of that. The defense wanted to postpone. Even though it's been nearly 3 years, there's so many terabytes of data that they still need to go through, and then they said that we have some perps, and I'm kind of glad that they're not doing a trial, because these poor people that they'll probably bring up will, lives get torn up.
That could have played a role in this at all, because up until a week and a half ago or so, they were ready to go to trial.
Yeah, I don't think so. I'm familiar with that testimony. I don't think that was the straw that broke the camel's back. There's a lot of other evidence, and I mean, when I say a lot, a mountain full of evidence that would point towards his guilt. And when you have the death penalty on the table, if there's always discussions to see if there's some sort of settlement or negotiation you can make with the state attorney's office when the death penalty is on the table. There's always discussions of that, usually throughout the case, depending on obviously the evidence that is in a case. In this case, I would imagine that they've been trying to get the death penalty off the case from day one. And I don't think this in itself, this one witness was like, okay, we got this one witness, let's call it a day and try to make a deal. I don't think that's true. And if he does not give an allocution, which
I'm sure it was a plan. I'm sure it was a factor. I'm sure it's just a factor of so many. I mean, they had this guy dead to rights. DNA. He's caught on camera on every. I keep saying it, every other camera from leaving his apartment all the way there. He turns off his phone, while the murders happen, then kicks it back on. Now he's leaving somehow. Down south, cutting back into Washington, and then he does those weird drives early that morning as well.
All roads are pointing to Rome here, that he's not going to give an allocution. He's not going to say where this knife is. The question to answer is why the state would not require that, and that's my guess is because they're weak. I've never seen a state attorney's office that was so desperate to make a deal that they did not say, hey, listen,
Henry, Doug,
you have to do an allocution. You have to tell us at least where the knife is. You have to do something to get this deal, not just stand up there and say, okay, judge, I'm guilty, and call it a day. I've just never seen it. And I'm talking about in any case, drug cases, prostitution cases, weak cases where you're getting an unbelievable deal. Maybe you're getting PTI with his diversion program, or you're getting some sort of benefit. the prosecution always says, okay, that's going to come along with an allocution, especially if there's a co-defendant, or they can't find the weapon, they can't find the gun that was used in a robbery. They say, you got to at least tell us where the gun is, and we'll give you this, this deal. I've never seen it. I haven't tried a case in Idaho, so maybe that's how they do it there. I've just never seen that done in any of the other states that I've had cases in, that I've tried cases. I just finished a murder case in San Francisco. That wasn't going to be the deal in San Francisco. And I just don't know why this was done the way that it was done. And I think that everyone's going to be asking those questions. I don't know if the state attorney is going to come out and speak to the press afterwards, but my feeling is if he was too weak and scared to speak to the families face to face, I don't think that he will face the firing line of questions from the individuals that are reporting on the case.
Okay, so we are allegedly 1 minute away, so I'm going to fast forward this. It looks like they are trying to probably tune in. Again, from what I heard, maybe I'll pull up a side tab over here. So if you're tuned in, supposedly the live feed is going to start any second, so let me kick it live. It is 10:44. They said... see, where did I see that article? This one? So any minute here, we should get a live feed into the courtroom. Oh, where is that article that told me that? Is it this one? Oh, I know what I asked. Bryan Kohberger. Weird, I got some audio coming from the video. Oh, here we go. Maybe? Okay, so here is actually from the actual courtroom. It has a countdown of 13 minutes. Again, I saw I'm trying to find it, but I did see it, it's saying it could start up to 15 minutes early, so. But here, there's a countdown. This is the live feed that I'm assuming. Again, there's only going to be one feed that all the networks are tapping into. Sorry, I can't just see chat for a second. 1 second. Oh, that's not good. Chris Davis. I would like to know how much his sister was involved, because I know it's been a long time. And it seemed like his sister was kind of had red flags about his brother, considering he was doing weird stuff when he moved back into the parents' home. All right, 11 minutes. Yeah, 4 lives gone, thousands hurt for a few minutes of evil. And what they went through. Oh my gosh, learning about what happened to, again, all of them terrible, but hearing what he did to Ethan. Oh, and do you guys remember do you guys ever remember that one audio? There was a couple. There was a fake one, but there was one audio that sounded pretty realistic. I'm kind of thinking that was real. Because they played that in the Dateline as well, just a clip of it. You hear a thud, it's really muffled, but then you hear the dog barking, and it does sound like that audio that was leaked way back in the day, if anybody remembers. I'm sure I probably have it on my YouTube channel. Again, it was a little disturbing because, again, we didn't know if it was real, and of course we had many fakes that came out before that. I kind of think that was the real thing, sadly enough. I hope, Cooper. I hope, yeah. I hope they make his life a living hell. But I do hope he comes forward and tells But again, this is his, this is his control. This is all that he has now. Jocelyn, yeah, you remember that? Yeah, there was that audio. I'm sure I might have it on my YouTube page. But when they played the Dateline, they just played a short little clip, and the audio sounded just like that one that was leaked out, 6 months after it happened. So one last time, while we wait, we got 9 minutes.
In this house, just steps from campus, in the early morning hours of November 13th, 2022, 4 University of Idaho students, Maddie Mogan, Kaylee Gonsalves, Xana Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin, were stabbed to death. A car that investigators believe...
So the only one they don't show, but they show it in the full one. They show each time he pulls in and everything. They
was
don't
driven by
show...
Bryan Kohberger making repeated passes at the King Road house
the
that
last
night
one
before the murders. With evidence like this and our reporting, we have assembled...
So remember, this is 4:07. This would be the time he is now going to officially commit and park. And then at 4:20, something like that, the car peels out. And it peels out so hard that it nearly hits this car. It is wild.
The timeline for the weeks, months, and days before and after.
Anyway, 8 minutes. Mess with his food.
Are you guys going to carry this hearing live? Will I be able to hear the hearing? Okay.
Does it look like the same building?
Hey, Raphael, I got you. Hey, good.
Maybe this is just kind of a static thumbnail they put on. All right, 7 minutes.
Did he walk in?
A huge Bubba Falls broom. Yeah, I I'm assuming the gag order will be lifted, but when that will happen, I don't know. Obviously, every state is different. I don't know if anybody knows in the chat. I do remember them talking about that yesterday, about, the evidence. Yeah, that's the big question, Truth. I mean, we could only speculate that he had this resentment towards women.
Hey, Drew, I got you. Are you guys going to carry the hearing? Oh, yeah.
I think that's part of it, Chris, is because he was turned down by women. Obviously, it was awkward. I mean, there's so many cases of him treating women bad, being awkward. And, yeah. Okay. This is live now. Technically, it's 5 minutes until we start. Are the flags half staff? Oh, okay. So so you can see they tapped into, because this one is the official court one here. I'm gonna probably do the official court, because then they have this banner down here. I just want to have it clean as possible. I will boost the audio if it's quiet. Oh, that's right. Yeah, because that happened in Idaho. I was going to cover that case, but they were installing Google Fiber. Actually just finished early this morning. Yeah, that is a terrible case, what happened there. Yeah, it's also another one. So the two things they said, well, maybe you could have showed up to one of the parties, but during the Dateline, they said that, they wouldn't let one random stranger be wandering around. But I don't know. But yeah, they worked at that Greek restaurant. All right, 4 minutes. I cannot believe this is happening. I think he will. I don't think he will during this hearing, but I think in prison he'll, because he knows people want to know the answers, especially family. And I think he'll toy with them and then eventually probably do like multiple interviews, give little tidbits here and there. As far as in another statement, they asked the plea deal require full confession, full accountability. Seeing, I'm hearing a lot more that's not, like, he has the chance. From what I heard, again, there's a lot of different sources. The main thing I've heard is that it's just him pleading, and I think that he has the opportunity to say, why he did it and where evidence could be. But other than that, yeah, people are pissed off that they didn't ask for this to be done. I don't know. Maybe we get a surprise and we find out That'd be crazy. I don't think so, because that still means he has some control, right? I just think he's a control freak, and he wants to milk this for everything it is. Oh, thank you so much, Felicia, for the PayPal. That is so sweet. God bless you, sweetheart. Thank you to all my members, my Patreons, and especially my wonderful mods coming in here and hanging out with us. All right, any second, any minute. See, full screen, mini player. I want to make this as full screen for you guys. I will make sure the audio's good. I got 2 different feeds. Actually, I'm going to get the booster ready, but I'll turn it down just in case. All right, 1 minute. No, I usually, we've learned from like the OJ case, and there's another one I can't think of, but yeah. Nope. Because someone said the only word you'll hear is from guilty. It could be. It could be. Still, it'll be epic. Considering, just weeks ago that they had found, alleged secondary suspects, via the defense. They deserve justice, yeah. People are back and forth on it. Yeah, OJ wrote a book. Yeah, if I remember, he said, if I did it. And then remember, they actually, because the if was really big, because he's like, if I did it. And then they made the word, because they were so pissed off, the Goldman family, they were so pissed off that they had the font of the if really small, so it just looks like I did it. That was because of them. God, I followed OJ religiously. What a strange case. All right, we're 1 minute past here. What's going on? I know that the family was trying to get to the courtroom to, protest this, because obviously they weren't happy with the plea deal. Did you hear the song he was listening to? Which one, OJ or? I'm not sure, 76. I'm curious of what you're talking about. But I'm agree. I agree. I think it'll be my personal opinion. Of course, I could be totally wrong. I think it'll be a Chris Watts situation. Again, this is, he's wired differently. This is the most he's ever lived, and now he has a bit of power over these victims' family, but I do think he'll start to, because if not, he's just going to be, forgotten. Let's check the other feed. Both feeds, I got them live. This is the direct courtroom one, so I am patched in here. Oh, God. Yeah, I was in school when they did the verdict. And I remember some people cheered, but my teacher, she had the biggest look of disgust on her face. And of course, at that time I was, I don't know, like 8 years old. So I really didn't understand. Of course, I didn't watch. I remember highlights seen on the news. My parents watched it, but I didn't fully understand it. Yeah, I don't know how that works, MS, but the Goldmans clearly got all the rights that would go. Yeah, I don't know how all that worked, but yeah. Oh, I know. Ugh. Holy cow. I mean, we're 4 minutes after. What's going on here? I wonder if this has anything to do with the family. Let me check Twitter just to see if there's anything going on. Diddy acquitted so here's wait, no, that's 20 hours ago. No, okay, never mind. I scratch what I just said because that's not right. Okay, so here's Steve Gonzalez. I'll just play a clip. I have no idea what he's saying, but it sounds like he's at the courtroom.
I'm not going to see him. It was good enough for mine.
Do you have any message for Kohberger?
Yeah, what do you want Kohberger to do? We know when you flew out here. We know. We have your flight records.
How are you preparing to see him today?
I'm not going to see him.
When you say you know the flight records, what do you mean, Steve?
I know when his parents booked their flight. When his father did.
What does that mean?
You'll find out.
Would you like to say something to them?
Flight records.
No, I don't care about it.
This
the
poor
rest of your
guy,
family
man.
went inside. Is it important for them to be in there today?
Yeah, for sure.
Where are you going? Are you not able to get
getting out of this suit.
You're not staying in?
No, I'm not going to.
Steve,
Guys, I mean, it was good enough.
Man, I feel so bad for that guy. I mean, for those that follow this case know that this poor guy has been out there even before they caught Kohberger, out there. It just feels like nothing has gone his way. Man, what a fighter. Thanks, Chris, for taking the early day time to cover this. I would much rather watch this on you. Oh, thanks, brother. I really appreciate that, man. And thank you so much for the support. God bless you, man. Supporting this channel for a long time. That is awesome. Again, for anybody that's watching, coming in, we're just waiting. It's the courtroom. We got the patched into the live feed. We're just waiting. So it says, Brian Enton says, in line outside the courtroom, waiting to go in. They have us up against the wall to make room for the victims' families as they walk to enter. Everyone is silent. I'm sad for them. Just reading. Let me go to the top and refresh to see if there's anything else. There's Steve. Yeah, people attacking Steve. That's been going on for a long time. Holy cow! Hush Pup. Oh, dude. Hush Pup. God bless you. If you did get gifted a Mob Crew membership, please thank Hush Pup. Please, please. Thank you so much, Hush Pup. That is so sweet. God bless you. That is so awesome. I mean, that's a good portion of the people in the channel right now. That is awesome. Is that a different one?
Yeah, what do you want?
We know when you flew out here. We know. We have your flight records.
How are you preparing to see
Yeah, that's the same one.
Yeah, what do you want?
We know when you
Okay,
flew
so
out
that's
here.
just the same.
We know.
Thank you, Hush Pup, again. God bless you supporting this channel. God bless. Whoa, Britney Spears. You know what? Just for those, just to say, I love Britney Spears. My favorite album is it Blackout? Right? Blackout? Again, I'm not like the most avid fan, but I love that album. That was really good. Even though I'm a more heavy metal, Metallica, yeah, but yeah, we love Britney Spears. Again, just waiting. We are tagged into the actual live stream. Everybody's tagged into the same feed. According to Brian Enton, about 5 minutes ago, they're kind of lining people up. They're letting the families go. So it looks like the courtroom is getting filled. There was something early this morning that said that they were going to kind of start earlier, but looks like that did not happen. So the Gonzalez family, obviously, they are not happy. They've got a lot of statements. I'm afraid if I pull these up, then the live will start. But I'll read them out to you guys if you're curious. Give me 1 second here. Okay. Courtroom now. Oh, I saw a Twitch on the live feed. Maybe we'll get something. So again, most of the families are not happy with this. All right. Let me just refresh, see if there's anything else. So I think that the Gonzalez, from what I'm reading here, they're alleging that the family of Kohberger knew about this plea deal before the victim's family. Now, if that is true, that is seriously messed up. Oh, thank you, Sensei. God bless my mods. You guys are lovely, wonderful. Oh, yeah, I was going to pull up. Let's see. Oh, sorry, guys. Nope, I got to pull this in there. Okay. Dun, dun, dun. Okay. Just looking. Oh. All right. Again, if you're just tuning in, it's supposed to start in a minute. This is a statement by the Gonzalez. Obviously, the father of Kaylee Gonzalez, one of the first 2 victims to be killed. This is our courtroom now. This moment, this stand. Our voices rise to every American who will listen, who would have provided protection for the roommates, the best friends, the fallen vet, God rest his soul, and every soul affected in our shattered community. Oh, here we go. I'm going to boost this. Here we go, guys.
It will come to order. The Honorable Stephen Hitler, presiding judge.
Let me see that.
There's Kohberger. Okay, Kohberger is right here. Do you guys want me to go to full view right now, and I'll just kind of pull myself away?
All right, this is CR01243165. Defendant is present in custody with counsel Ms. Thompson, Ms. Jennings, and Ms. Taylor, Ms. Massoff, and Ms. Barlow. The state's present with Mr. Thompson, Mr. Horowitz, Ms. Jennings. All right, this is CR01243165. Defendant is present in custody with counsel Ms. Thompson, Ms. Jennings. I'm sorry.
Ms. Allen is here as well.
Ms. Allen is here as well. Very well, thank you. All right, we are here today to entertain a change of plea. Before I start, I want to address some issues of concern and otherwise. First, I appreciate everybody in attendance today being on their best behavior. Please, no outbursts or demonstrations. Any such conduct will result in immediate removal and may result in an inability to attend further court proceedings in this case. I want to point out that there have been calls by some for the public to contact me and my office in an attempt to influence my decision-making in this case. This has been extraordinarily disruptive for court staff and the ability for them to get work done, not only in this case, but in other cases where defendants are entitled to have their cases processed, and frankly, as important, if not more so, for victims to have their cases processed in those cases. It's also highly inappropriate. A court is not supposed to, and this court will never, take into account public sentiment in making an opinion regarding its judicial decisions in cases. Courts should, and I always will, make decisions based on where the facts and the law lead me, period. I have not read any of the numerous messages nor listened to any of the numerous voicemails that have been sent to me and my staff. Those have all been forwarded to security and, where appropriate, to law enforcement. I ask that you not continue to mount such campaigns or to send me information like this because, again, it is not appropriate and, frankly, not something I would take into account when deciding a matter in a case like this. I also want people to understand some very basic concepts about the ideas of separation of powers, and what the court's duties are, and what the duties and the rights of the executive, or in this case, the prosecuting attorney, is. The executive, the elected prosecutor, is the sole authority in deciding what charges to pursue, including whether, as well as what penalties to ask for, and what penalties to pursue, including the death penalty. This court cannot require the prosecutor to seek the death penalty, nor would it be appropriate for this court to attempt to do that. This court, in considering a plea agreement, if it were to reject this plea agreement, cannot force the state to seek the death penalty. My role and power in considering a plea agreement is extremely limited. My role is to ensure that the defendant's plea is given freely, voluntarily, and intelligently. If those things are met, I can only reject a plea, such as the one in this case, where I'm not being asked to agree to the sentence in advance. I can only reject it, for example, if the defendant does not meet or admit to all of the elements of the crime. That is, I can ensure what is called a factual basis to the plea. Finally, I want to offer my apologies to all the families, including the victims' families, the families of the defendant, for the short notice for today's hearing, and I'm sure what must have been the hurried efforts to get here. I, like most everyone else, learned of this plea agreement Monday afternoon and had no inkling of it beforehand. Prior to that time, I was under the belief that this case was proceeding to trial, as had been indicated, and my staff and I were busy continuing to work on preparations to have potentially 10,000 citizens of Ada County come to jury duty starting in mid-July, with the questionnaire process in mid-July. It was, once I learned of the defendant's decision to change his plea in this case, it was important that I take the plea as soon as possible because of the extraordinary administrative efforts that were otherwise attendant to the process of this, getting this trial potentially underway on time, and including the significant process of bringing, again, potentially up to 10,000 jurors to come in and fill out juror questionnaires prior to the beginning of the voir dire process. And so it was important that we, if we're going to go down this road, do so expeditiously so that we can avoid those costs and expenses associated with that. Otherwise, if it was not going to result in a plea, or if for some reason the plea were to fall through today, that we could continue diligently towards trial at the time specified. And so that obviously required that we act quickly, and so some folks may have not had the amount of time that we would otherwise allow for them to travel here. And so, again, I apologize for that. I want to make people aware that during the hearing, if you are to leave the courtroom for any reason, you will not be readmitted during the hearing. Also, when we finish the hearing this morning, I ask that the public and media wait in their seats until the victims' families and the defendants' families and others are escorted out of the courtroom before you start to leave. Finally, I want to acknowledge the trial court administrator and her staff, the Ada County Sheriff, and the Ada County 4th District Marshal Service for the huge lift that they've accomplished in preparing for and orchestrating this hearing today, as well as to all the security attendant today that you see, and some of whom many of whom you don't see, with less than 48 hours notice. And so I appreciate the hard work that they've been doing frankly, some of them while they were on some vacation prior to the trial starting and had to call that short. And so I appreciate very much their professionalism and dedication. All right. That said, let's move to the business of today. I understand the state and the defense have reached a plea agreement in this case. For the record, I have a written plea agreement which indicates, in sum, the defendant will plead guilty to all 5 counts in the indictment: burglary, felony, and first-degree murder, 4 counts. The state and the defendant stipulate, that is, that the defense is not free to argue for a lesser sentence at sentencing, to the following. The defendant on the burglary charge will be sentenced to 10 years fixed, and that the defendant on counts 2 through 5, the 4 counts of first-degree homicide, on each count would receive a fixed life sentence, all 5 of those counts to run consecutive to one another. Defendant, as part of the plea agreement, waives his right to appeal, as well as his right to appeal the sentence and his right to seek leniency or reconsideration of the sentence under Idaho Criminal Rule 35. This is not a Rule 11 agreement, meaning the court is not bound by the plea agreement and could impose a different lawful sentence at sentencing. The stipulated agreement between the parties is the maximum on each count, so theoretically the only thing the court could do would be a lesser sentence at sentencing. But the defendant is not free to ask the court to do so under the plea agreement. Are there any other material terms of the plea agreement that the parties would like to make? Obviously, the plea agreement, the written plea agreement will speak for itself and be part of the court record.
Not from the state, Your Honor. Thank you.
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right, very well. All right. Ms. Taylor, have you had sufficient time to discuss this case and all of its ramifications with your client?
I have, Your Honor.
Have you discussed fully with him his rights, defenses, and possible consequences to him of the guilty plea?
Yes, Your Honor.
Have you been able to do all the discovery you feel necessary?
Yes, Your Honor.
And have you informed your client of the importance of providing the court truthful and accurate answers in taking this plea today?
I have.
Have you apprised your client of any and all offers and counteroffers and answered his questions about those?
Yes.
Do you consent to the entry of the plea today?
I do.
All right, Mr. Kohberger, I need to ask you some questions this afternoon, or I guess it's this morning still. I do this to ensure that you so that I am assured that you understand the nature of the charges to which I understand you're going to plead guilty, as well as the possible consequences to you of your guilty pleas. I want to make sure your plea is given voluntarily, and I want to make sure that you actually committed the crimes to which you're pleading guilty, because I don't want you to plead guilty to a crime you didn't commit. If you attempt to plead guilty today, but for some reason I don't accept your plea, then it is possible that your statements today could be used against you later at trial. Do you understand that?
Yes.
All right, thank you. And now, while you're standing, actually, why don't you take the oath from the clerk?
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you shall give in the matter not being before this court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
All right, and Mr. Kohberger, just to make it easier, you don't need to stand when you speak to me. I appreciate the sign of respect, but for convenience, you can remain seated, all right? Before I start asking you questions today, have you consumed, substantive questions, let me ask you, have you consumed any alcohol, drug, or other intoxicating substance that would impair your ability to understand or exercise reasonable judgment?
No.
You feel like you are thinking clearly today?
Yes.
All right, I want you to understand what the possible penalties are for each of the crimes to which I understand you're going to offer a guilty plea today. They include, on count 1, the burglary, a fine of up to $50,000 and a period of incarceration of up to 10 years in the state penitentiary. You may be required to pay restitution to any victims of the crime. count 2, 3, 4, and 5 for first-degree murder, the consequences include a fine of up to $50,000, a period of incarceration of life imprisonment, which is a requirement of a sentence, that it be a life sentence with a mandatory minimum sentence of at least 10 years on each of those counts. In addition, you would be potentially responsible for a fine of up to $5,000 to each of the victims of your crime, to be enforced in the form of a civil judgment, to operate as additional punishment. This is in excess of any restitution or fines that the court could order. And again, you may be required to pay restitution to the victims of the crime. You would be required to provide, as to counts 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, a DNA sample and a right thumbprint impression, and potentially pay for analysis of those samples. You would lose any right to possess, purchase, or carry a firearm, the right to serve on jury duty, the right to hold public office, and the right to vote. Do you understand the charges and all those possible consequences?
Yes.
You've heard the plea agreement that I talked about today. Do you agree with that plea agreement?
Yes.
And do you understand the nature of the charges that you've been charged with, that I understand you're going to plead guilty today to?
Yes.
As I indicated, I'm not bound by the plea agreement, but the plea agreement is for the maximum on each count. Do you understand that I'm not bound by the plea agreement?
Yes.
Has anyone promised you that I would be lenient or easy on you if you pled guilty?
No.
Has anyone threatened you or anyone close to you to get you to plead guilty?
No.
Has anyone, other than the state's agreements with respect to the plea agreement, has anyone promised you anything in exchange for your plea agreement?
No.
Has anyone told you to be untruthful in answering my questions today?
No.
Has anyone offered you a reward of any kind other than the plea agreement in order to get you to plead guilty today?
No.
Are you pleading guilty because you are guilty?
Yes.
And counsel, obviously there have been a number of motions filed to suppress evidence in this case. Other than those filed, are there any other motions that you felt were available with respect to Rule 12?
No, Your Honor.
And Mr. Kohberger, you understand that by entering the guilty plea in this case, you would be giving up your right to appeal any decision this court made, as well as your sentence?
Yes.
Have you had enough time to decide whether or not to plead guilty?
Yes.
Are you pleading guilty freely and voluntarily?
Yes.
Given your choices, do you believe it's in your best interest to plead guilty?
Yes.
Have you discussed fully the matter of pleading guilty with your attorney, and are you satisfied with the advice you've received?
Yes.
Has your attorney advised you to your satisfaction about what your rights are, what your defenses may be, and what the possible consequences to you of your guilty plea are?
Yes.
Has your attorney done everything you've asked them to do?
Yes.
Are you satisfied with their representation of you?
Yes.
I have received a written guilty plea advisory questionnaire that is purported to be filled out by you. Did you fill that document out?
Yes.
Did you understand the questions that you answered in this document?
Yes.
And are the answers that are outlined in this document your answers?
Yes.
Are those answers truthful?
Yes.
Did you sign the document?
Yes.
And this document outlines many of the rights that you have in this case should you not plead guilty. Did you understand those rights?
Yes.
They include a right to a jury trial. Do you understand that?
Yes.
They include a right to the presumption of innocence. Do you understand that?
Yes.
You have the right to require the state to prove your guilt as to each element beyond a reasonable doubt. Do you understand that?
Yes.
They include a right to confront your accusers and cross-examine witnesses presented by the state, including by utilizing the subpoena power of the court to accomplish that. Do you understand that?
Yes.
You understand you would have a privilege against self-incrimination and a right to remain silent, meaning you would not be compelled to testify if you did not wish to, had you not pled guilty.
Yes.
You understand you're giving up that privilege and those rights that I've just outlined by pleading guilty.
Yes.
All right, I want you to understand what the state would have had to have proven at trial had you, to the crimes that you're pleading guilty to, had you, if you didn't plead guilty. Let me find the document. Hang on a second here. All right. So as to count one burglary, the state would have to have proven that on or about November 13, 2022 in Latah County, Idaho, you unlawfully entered a residence located at 1122 King Road in Moscow, Idaho, with the intent to commit the felony crime of murder. As to count two, the state would have had to have proven that on or about that same date in Latah County, Idaho, you did willfully, unlawfully, deliberately, with premeditation and malice aforethought, kill and murder Madison Mogan, a human being, by stabbing Madison Mogan, from which she died. As to count three, the state would have had to have proven that on that same date in Latah County, at that same address, you did willfully, unlawfully, deliberately, with premeditation and malice aforethought, kill and murder Kaylee Gonzalez, a human being, by stabbing her, from which she died. As to count four, the state would have had to have proven that on or about that same date in Latah County, Idaho, you did willfully, unlawfully, deliberately, with premeditation and malice aforethought, kill and murder Xana Kernodle, a human being, by stabbing her, from which she died. And then as to count five, also murder in the first degree, that on or about November 13th, 2022, in Latah County, Idaho, you did willfully, unlawfully, deliberately, with premeditation and malice aforethought, kill and murder Ethan Chapin, a human being, by stabbing him, from which he died. Do you understand those things the state would have had to have proven?
Yes.
And do you understand that by pleading guilty, the state no longer has to prove those things because you're admitting those things are true?
Yes.
I want to also make, for the record, the defendant has provided with the guilty plea advisory form a document entitled Written Factual Basis that purports to have the defendant's signature dated 1 July 2025. Did you sign that document?
Yes.
And did you agree with the written factual basis that is included there?
Yes.
And then let me ask you, did you, on November 13th, 2022, enter the residence at 1122 King Road in Moscow, Idaho, with the intent to commit the felony crime of murder?
Yes.
Did you, on November 13th, 2022, in Latah County, state of Idaho, kill and murder Madison Mogan, a human being?
Yes.
And did you do that willfully, unlawfully, deliberately, and with premeditation and malice aforethought?
Yes.
Did you, on or about that same date in Moscow, Idaho, kill and murder Kaylee Gonzalez, a human being?
Yes.
And did you do that willfully, unlawfully, deliberately, and with premeditation and malice aforethought?
Yes.
And did you, on that same date in Moscow, Idaho, kill and murder Xana Kernodle, a human being?
Yes.
And did you do that willfully, unlawfully, deliberately, with premeditation and malice aforethought?
Yes.
And then on or about November 13th, 2022, again in Latah County, Idaho, did you kill and murder Ethan Chapin, a human being?
Yes.
Did you do that willfully, unlawfully, deliberately, with premeditation and malice aforethought?
Yes.
I would ask the state at this time to provide its recitation of its factual basis had this case gone to trial.
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, the organization of the recitation is different than what I think the court and the public may be familiar with from the probable cause affidavit and other documents. The state's evidence, as an overview, would show that back in March of 2022, when the defendant was residing at his parents' residence or was residing back in Pennsylvania, his home state, he purchased online a K-bar knife and sheath with an Amazon gift card that he had purchased shortly prior to the purchase of the knife, sheath, and sharpener. Jumping ahead, the end of June of that year, the defendant, Mr. Kohberger, moved from Pennsylvania to Pullman, Washington, which is right across the state line from Moscow, Idaho, for the purpose of pursuing a PhD in criminal justice at Washington State University. The state's evidence would indicate that beginning July 9th of 2022, Mr. Kohberger's phone began connecting to a cell tower that serves the area of the 1122 King Road residence in Moscow, Idaho. Now, I will acknowledge for the court and all present that there are many residences in that area. It's a dense population of mostly college-related occupants. Between July 9th of 2022 and November 7th, the defendant's phone connected to that particular tower during late night, early morning hours, 10 p.m. to 4 a.m., on approximately 23 times. Now, I will acknowledge also we do not have evidence that the defendant had direct contact with 1122 or with residents of 1122, but we can put his phone in that area on those times. In the interim, on August 22nd of 2022, Latah County Sheriff's Deputy Darren Duke conducted a traffic stop in the early morning hour or late evening hours, about 11 p.m., on the west side of Moscow, on the Moscow-Pullman Road. This was a traffic stop of Mr. Kohberger's car, which turned out to be a 2015 white Hyundai Elantra with Pennsylvania plates. During the course of the traffic stop, Deputy Duke was able to obtain Mr. Kohberger's name, Bryan Kohberger, his phone number, and his address, which at that point was an apartment address in Pullman. We then move to the early morning hours of November 13th, 2022. The state's evidence would show that early morning hours on that day, Mr. Kohberger's phone left his Pullman residence, which is an apartment in kind of the central northwest part of Pullman. That phone was then subsequently turned off at approximately 2:54 a.m. and remained off until approximately 4:48 a.m. on Sunday, the 13th of November. The state's evidence would include at trial video surveillance of a business on the Moscow-Pullman Highway just across the state line from Moscow that would show a vehicle matching the description of the defendant's Hyundai Elantra entering Moscow at approximately 3:02 a.m. Compiled surveillance that the investigators put together from businesses and residents then show the defendant's car, the white Elantra, as I've described, circling the 1122 King Road area, that neighborhood, starting around 3:30 or so in the morning. Comes into the immediate area of 1122 King Road, which is actually on a dead end, and then leaves several times. And approximately 4:05 that morning, the defense car had entered that area, was leaving, stopped at the intersection of King and Queen Road, did a U-turn, and the state's evidence would show that the defendant's car came back and parked behind and above the 1122 King Road residence. The state believes that its evidence would then show that the defendant entered the residence of 1122 through the kitchen sliding door on the back side of the residence, which is the side of the residence that would face the area above where the defendant's car was parked. Defendant entered the residence, went to the third floor, and with a knife, killed Madison Mogan and Kaylee Gonzalez. The defendant, as he left that room, for whatever reason, ended up leaving, or the sheath for a K-bar knife was left on the bed next to Madison Mogan's body. And I can jump ahead. That sheath was tested by the Idaho State Police Forensic Lab, and single source male DNA was found on the snap of that sheath, as well as blood from both Kaylee and Madison and other trace evidence. But it's important to note single source male DNA was on the snap of that sheath. The state's evidence would show that Xana Knodel was still awake at this time. In fact, had taken a DoorDash order not long before this started. Her room was not on the third floor, it was on the second floor on the west side. As the defendant was either coming down the stairs or leaving, he encountered Xana, and he ended up killing her, also with a large knife. Ethan Chapin, Xana's boyfriend, was asleep in their bedroom, in her bedroom, and the defendant killed him as well with a large fixed blade knife. Each victim suffered multiple wounds. I will state for the record that there is no evidence there was any sexual component or sexual assault on any of the victims. I want to make that clear so there's no speculation. There were two other roommates in the house, and they were already asleep. During the course of this, one of those roommates awoke, looked out her door not knowing what was going on, and saw the defendant, who was dressed in black with a black balaclava on, holding some sort of container in his hand. And she saw him leave the house through the direction of the kitchen where that sliding door is that I mentioned before. At approximately 4:20 that morning, so this would have been 15 minutes or so later, the defendant's car is seen on a surveillance camera for 1112 King Road, which is immediately next door to the west of 1122, leaving the area at a high rate of speed. And if the court were to see that, or anybody in this courtroom would see that, you can see the car almost loses control as it makes the corner, heads north, and then turns to go south on Walinta, which is one of the only ways to get out of that part of town. The evidence would show that following that, the defendant in his Elantra drove south of Moscow. We know that he drove on the back roads because there are surveillance cameras on the main highways, Highway 95, that would have picked up the defendant's car if he'd gone that route. And they did not show the defendant's car on that route during the time. So we know that he went through a variety of back roads in very rural, isolated part of Latah County. About 4:48 that morning, the defendant's phone comes back on. And the evidence will show that that phone was located south of Moscow, likely at a side road intersection with Highway 95. From there, the defendant's phone activity tracks it heading back north towards Pullman, Washington, where the defendant lived. About 5:26, starting approximately 5:26, various surveillance cameras in Pullman, Washington pick up the defendant's vehicle as he enters Pullman from the south and heads north and slightly west towards his apartment, where he arrived at approximately 5:30 in the morning. Later that morning, this Sunday, the 13th of November of 2022, Mr. Kohberger's phone returned to the area of King Road. We don't know exactly what he did, but it returned to that area. It's about 9 o'clock in the morning. He was there for about 10 minutes and then returned to his Pullman residence. About 9:30, the state's evidence will show, evidence taken from the defendant's phone, that he took a selfie of himself on his phone in what appears to be the bathroom of his Pullman apartment with a thumbs up. The defendant's phone then went to the Lewiston-Clarkston Valley, approximately 30 miles south of Moscow and Pullman. And the defendant is actually seen with his car at various businesses down there. This area is the confluence of the Clearwater River and the Snake River. Lewiston is Idaho's seaport. Large bodies of moving water down there. In addition to tracing the defendant's activities, as I've just outlined, on the 13th and leading up to the 13th, the state's evidence will show that following Sunday, November 13th, 2022, business records show that the defendant began searching for a K-bar knife and a K-bar knife sheath, as the state believes, to replace the one that was left at the scene of the murders. The evidence also will suggest that there were at least attempts by the defendant to delete or alter his purchase history on Amazon, where all these transactions had occurred. Later that week, the state's evidence will show that Mr. Kohberger went to what we would call DMV, motor vehicle licensing here in Idaho, in Pullman, to change his car registration from Pennsylvania to Washington. That's of note because Pennsylvania cars do not require a front license plate. The vehicles seen on the surveillance cameras of the defendant's car showed it didn't have a front license plate on it. At the time of the traffic stop by Deputy Duke in August, it was Pennsylvania plate, no front license plate. Mr. Kohberger proceeded to finish his semester of studies at Washington State University and returned to Pennsylvania for the holidays. Law enforcement at this point were aware of Mr. Kohberger, had been accessing information about him, were trying to find him. They located him in Pennsylvania, and they conducted what's called a trash pull. During the nighttime hours, agents of the FBI, who assisted immensely with this case, working with the sanitation department back in this neighborhood in Pennsylvania, took trash that had been set out on the street for collection, sent the contents of that from the Pennsylvania residence of the defendant's parents to the Idaho State Forensic Laboratory, where the lab experts there were able to identify DNA on a Q-tip as coming from the father of the person whose DNA was found on the knife sheath that was next to Madison Logan's body in the bed. Subsequently, an arrest warrant was issued here in Idaho, and a search warrant was issued in the state of Pennsylvania with the assistance not only of the FBI, but the Pennsylvania State Police. Mr. Kohberger was arrested at his parents' home to return to Idaho. Upon his return to Idaho, a DNA sample was taken from him, and it matched the DNA found on the knife sheath next to Maddie's body at the crime scene. I can tell the court, in public, the weapon itself, the knife, has not yet been recovered. I can tell the court that the defendant's apartment in Pullman was searched, as well as his office. Spartan would be a kind characterization. There was virtually nothing there. Nothing of evidentiary value was found. And of course, we are now talking 6-8 weeks after the time of the killings. In Pennsylvania, the defendant's car was seized, and it was actually pretty much disassembled internally. And it also had been cleaned. There was a bucket of cleaner right beside it. I think we can all look to our own cars, you know, in those compartments in the doors. We try to keep them clean where you put stuff. There's always some degree of crud in there. They were spotless. The defendant's car had been meticulously cleaned inside. And the state would present to the jury that that was part of the defendant's plan in covering up this. The defendant has studied crime. In fact, he did a detailed paper on crime scene processing when he was working on his pre-doctorate degrees, and he had that knowledge and skill. So, Your Honor, at the end, the state submits that the evidence that I've given just a quick overview of, and that to present in court would consume weeks, which the state is prepared to do and has been prepared to do, would show that as the defendant has just admitted and pleaded guilty on November 13th, 2022, excuse me, Mr. Kohberger entered the residence at 1122 King Road in Moscow, Idaho. He did that with the intent to kill. We will not represent that he intended to commit all of the murders that he did that night, but we know that that is what resulted, and that he then killed intentionally, willfully, deliberately, with premeditation, and with malice forethought, Maddie Mogen, Kaylee Gonzalez, Ethan Chapin, and Xana Colonel. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, based on the state's proffer and importantly based upon defendant's explicit admission to committing these crimes, the court finds there is a factual basis. Therefore, with respect to count 1, burglary, felony, how do you plead, Mr. Kohberger, guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
As to count 2, murder in the first degree as it relates to the murder of Madison Mogen, how do you plead, guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
As to count 3, as it relates to murder in the first degree for the murder of Kaylee Gonzalez, how do you plead, guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
As to count 4, the first degree murder of Xana Kernodle, a human being, how do you plead, guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
As to count 5, the first degree murder of Ethan Chapin, a human being, how do you plead, guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
Right. The court will find that the defendant understands the nature of the charges and each offense and the possible consequences to him of his guilty plea. The court finds that there is a factual basis for the plea and finds the defendant believes the plea to be in his best interest. I find that the plea was given freely, voluntarily, and was intelligently made. I accept the plea. I direct that it be entered. I'll continue the matter for sentencing in this case. I think it was mentioned on the call Monday afternoon, the defense wishes to waive a pretrial investigation. Is that accurate?
Yes, Your Honor.
The state also?
Yes, Your Honor. The state does not believe pre-sentence investigation is needed given the evidence that is available. We want to, though, make sure that all of the victims have the opportunity to make statements to the court at sentencing.
Absolutely. And certainly both the state and the defense may present whatever sentencing memorandum and other documents you wish me to consider. The victims will be given an opportunity to provide the statements that they wish to at sentencing. Do we need more than one full day for sentencing?
I do not believe so, Your Honor. Obviously, we have numerous victims, and we have victims who share unique perspectives on this, and we want to make sure that they all have time to express their feelings to the court. But I believe that if we can start perhaps 8:30 or so in the morning, that we should be able to complete it all in one day.
Defense agree with that in terms of the time frame?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. So as it happens, we have some time reserved in this case in July and August. The week of July 22nd is available. I don't know if that's too soon for the parties, or the next week, the week of August 4, is available. Any preference?
Your Honor, we're prepared as soon as the court wants to schedule it.
The state, I believe, would be prepared on the 22nd. Right. We've told the victims' families that we're looking at approximately those dates.
All right. So because of the plan to bring in so many jurors to fill out questionnaires, I had ordered that no other trials could take place in this courthouse the week of July 22nd. And so we will use that in terms of the sentencing date because of what I'm sure will be the significant interest of the media and the public and the logistics that will be required to make that happen. Without trials going, it'll be a lot easier to do that. So let's pick that week. Why don't we pick July 23rd with the idea that if for some reason we don't finish, we could continue into the 24th. We'll start at 9 in the morning. Does that give your team enough time, Sandra? 9 in the morning? All right. Any concerns with that date?
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
No, sir.
All right. any reason why I should not rescind the non-dissemination order at this time?
You're right. I think that given the history of this case, it would be best if that remained in place through sentencing. So we have time to make sure there's the ability to completely answer questions. That would be the state's preference and recommendation.
We'd have no objection for the order to remain in place through
All right,
sentencing.
I will, at this point, the idea to keep it until sentencing, which time it would be withdrawn in order to give the parties the space and time to prepare to meet what I'm sure will be the deluge of media requests. That's at least my preliminary decision at this point. We can always revisit if it seems to be, for some reason, I should. That said, obviously, I don't think the defendant, a bond was ever set for the defendant. Were it would be revoked. The prior order allowing him to come in civilian clothes is revoked, given his plea and no longer the presumption of innocence. And in fact, now the actual conviction for the crimes. He will continue to be held at the jail pending sentencing. Is there anything else today?
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
I assume that the trial date will be vacated and those 4 jurors will be released.
The trial will be vacated, and I'm sure that the jury commissioner will get word to those that receive their summons that they won't be required to attend. So,
Thank you, Your Honor.
that said, again, if you would all please wait for the parties and the victims' families and others to leave the courtroom before you do, I would appreciate it. And with that, we're adjourned. All right, please.
So I got everything on silent. Wow, what do you guys think? Oops, my headphones are all stuck. Let's see what, so that's it for them. Oh, wow. That is wild. I do really feel bad for the family. Where's our history? Oh, I thought maybe Law and Crime would have maybe something after, maybe do an interview. I'll check on Twitter here. Thank you to everybody being in here. God bless you guys. Anyway, having something weird. So we might have some statements, because I was thinking the family would probably come out and maybe make a statement. So we'll see if they do that. If you guys want to stay around, I thought we'll see if they do a statement. Obviously, if you missed it, guilty on 4 counts of murder, first degree. Which are all carry life sentences, and then the burglary, which is 10 years, but obviously life sentence. He's done 4. Obviously, a lot of people feel like the trial should have gone on, and he should have been, judged by a group of his peers. I'm 50-50 on it. I mean, I would have, this guy's a monster. But I get where the family's going, They think, he's going to spend the rest of his life with, what Steve says, internet. He gets time, he's get, a roof over his head. He gets 3 meals a day. Oh, yeah, thank you guys. I appreciate everybody being in here. And I just want a special thanks to Hush Pup, Tom N. Let me pull those up real quick. Just Black Witter for the 22 months. Arlene Willie. Make sure I got that name right. Emo Jim, a bunch of donations. Appreciate that. Tom, big follower of the case. Huge supporter of the channel since I can remember. Emo Jim says, "Hey guys, got to get to work. I look forward to seeing you all for sentencing in a few weeks. Take care." Thanks, Emo Jim. Yeah, I'm really curious about the gag order. What, when will we get the evidence? Obviously, I'm sure a lot of that stuff's going to be disturbing, but is there anything that we can learn from it? Okay, so Long Crime says stand by for coverage outside the courthouse. So it does sound like they're going to maybe do an interview. So we'll do that, and then we'll finish up. I'm going to pull up Twitter while we wait and see if there's anything going on. So bear with me here for a second. Chris says, well, no, he doesn't consider anyone his peer. Yeah. Oh, yeah, Twitter. Let's see here. Latest. And what I might do is I'll probably do for the members of Patreons, and then I'll eventually release it to everybody, is all, because we had like a bunch of different boxes, so I may do like a video where you can see, I'll zoom in on Kohberger so you can see his, because I don't really think the judge matters, so maybe I'll do it like split screen where you can see Kohberger and going back and forth depending on who's talking, but I'll probably zoom in on Kohberger the most. George Girl, no. Oh. I mean, there's always that possibility, Doris Gurley. And I think of that, what's that guy's name that killed, he killed a bunch of people. He set up caches all throughout the U.S. And killed people. Was even even Alaska. He was the one that took that girl out of the coffee shop and then tried to ransom her even after she was dead. Oh, it's just if somebody know in the chat his name. I'm blanking it. Anyway, he then did kill himself, and they did think he did kill more people. I forget. They had at least like 6 people, I think, maybe more, associated with him. And then when he killed himself, in his blood, he had written down, I think, 12 crosses or something. Yes, Israel Keys. Thank you, Jocelyn. Of course, Jocelyn would know. Yes, Israel Keys. Yes. Oh, what a monster. There's probably more connected to him. And there's probably more stashes out there somewhere that... But yeah, he did do that. Oh, here we go. Is this the... What family is this? This might be... Is this Kohberger's family? I can't tell. Everybody's hovering over him. One second. I'm trying to look closer. Yeah, that looks like Kohberger's family, because that looks like one of the sisters. Again, it could be one of the other victims' families. I could be wrong. Oh, 1 second, guys. I'm assuming somebody's going to make a statement. Oh, me. Thank you so much for the PayPal. Oh, you're so sweet. Groovy Gal, good to see you. Oh, thank you, Groovy Gal. Yeah, he was. Israel, yeah. I mean, if Kohberger wasn't caught early on, I would think he would turn into an Israel Keys well, it didn't seem like he had the same thing with like Bundy did, because obviously Bundy went much further because he had a different. I think it's just the kill, and I think that was Israel Keys. I can't remember if he did stuff to the bodies. It's been a while. I never really did a deep dive, but I know I've watched documentaries, and that guy is just like, woof. And the way he was caught was it was so crazy. He just got pulled over for some stupid thing, if I recall. Let me know if I'm wrong in chat, but I think he just got pulled over from like like expired plates or wrong plates or something like that. And then, yeah, caught by something stupid, even though he had been so, oh my God, he would have been like the next BTK killer. Like, I mean, mixed with Bundy. I mean, this guy would have been, and again, there's probably more murders that are associated with him. Yes, he took, I know, that was, oh God. For a father, oh yeah. Yeah, that's bad. I won't mention it, even, I mean, I know we covered true crime, but woof. Yeah, oh, you're so sweet, me. Anyway, we're just waiting to see if they're going to say something here. Let me go back to Twitter while we wait. I thought they were going to do something. I was just wondering. I think oh. Okay, we got an article. Wow. So this is why I want to zoom in. Oh, God, these stupid articles. This is why I want to zoom in. Look at that. Oh, my gosh. Because it was so much smaller, right? So I will do this for the members and everything. But I'll zoom in on Kohberger for the most part. I'll just play, like, the highlights where he's, talking and stuff. But, man, look at that. This is the last time we'll see him in plain clothes. Back to Orange you go, buddy. There was something with the family. So that's the father of Maddie, which they do believe was the target. I know Maddie or Kaylee was believed to be the target. One of the two. Look at Ann Taylor smiling. Oh my God, look at that look. Holy shit. I mean, I think a lot of us were like, dude, this guy is different. His wiring's all wrong. He is a psychopath, sociopath, whatever. Okay. Okay, so this is Ethan Chapman's family. Maybe that's the ones that were walking out. Wait, how did that go to Twitter? Wait, oh, I see. Never mind. Sorry. I just want to see if there was any pictures of the family of Bryan Kohberger. Oh, let's see. Will the evidence finally be unsealed? If Bryan Kohberger does accept the plea deal as expected, which he did, legal expert tells Daily Mail he would expect the court to now face petitions to unseal all documents and evidence in the case. And we've seen that in like the Richard Allen trial, the Delphi case. Obviously, after it finished, it took a long while. I think many, many months after he was found guilty and sentenced, which I think happened in late December, early July, or late December, early January. And then I think we got the evidence like many, many months later. It kind of slowly filtered out. Yeah, so there was a 6 a.m. phone call also that morning after he killed the families. He called his father for almost an hour. That was another thing we learned in the documentary from Dateline. Okay, still nothing from these guys. Oh, I hear something. All right, I'm just seeing if they'll have a statement. All right, we already read this. That's people waiting in the courtroom. Don't know who those are. God, this is a huge article. Okay, this is going backwards. Okay, this is going backwards. I just realized that the timeline of this is going backwards. Okay. Anyway. Yeah, I mean, of course, yeah, you got to feel for everybody, even on his side, like the sisters, for those that don't know, like Bryan Kohberger's sisters, I think one of them, I'm not sure both of them, let me know. One of them was like getting into acting and even did like, I think a few like independent movies. Very beautiful, probably had a promising career. And then I think the other one was in like some kind of mental health field or something like that. Once Bryan Kohberger was arrested and people found out that the sisters were obviously related to him, they all lost their jobs. So again, of course, the victims' families, absolutely horrible, but it's everybody's getting destroyed on all sides. But I feel bad for the sisters, of Kohberger, because again, it just who is this? See, I click on this, but it gives me this stupid thing. Uh-oh. Okay, here we go. Maybe? No, mic's not on, buddy. It's not working. No. Me. Try again. I wonder, who do you guys think are going to talk? It doesn't sound like at least the Gonsalves. It sounded like Steve said, like, I'm in and out. Like, once this is done, I'm out of here. He's pissed. I'm sure it wouldn't be anything good. It would just be, the poor Gonsalves is. I agree. I mean, what's the point now? Again, I think this is the one thing. Again, we've been talking about this all day. I think this is the one thing now. It's like a Chris Watts situation where now, he still holds a lot of, the answers to questions many people have. And I think he'll probably wait. I don't know. Maybe it could be this year. I think he'll wait a year or so. Just because he has that power. That's the one thing he can hold over the victim's family, But I do think, given the chance, he would talk in a year. Yeah, fix your mics. Yeah, there's a statement by this chick. The sisters are fully aware that their brother is guilty. There was even claims that one of the sisters was kind of like an inside source to them because she had seen him, cleaning up and doing weird shit. Everybody's doing screenshots of him. Oh, look at that face. Evil. Let's save that. Yep, back to the jumpsuit. Where's the knife? I think, when he went south, earlier that morning, and he was connected to the Albertsons, and he happened to go by that river, like, it made no sense for him to get, like a cup of coffee all the way down there where he could have gotten something quicker. I think he went into the Albertsons as well, bought just like a few items. Yeah, I think he got rid of half the stuff on the way back to his home because, clearly he was down south in Idaho before he went into Washington around Genesee, I think it was, or Blaine. I think, and all that area is like rolling hills, and you could easily just bury something. Oh my God, look at everybody out there. Wonder who's going to speak. Okay, well, back to that. Nothing. All right, we'll sit out, see if they have an interview with somebody, and then we'll finish up here. Let's see, on Twitter. Hey, Michelle. Good to see you, sweetheart. Again, if you're just coming in, we're just waiting. Obviously, the big news, we just heard Bryan Kohberger plead guilty on all charges, four counts of first-degree murder, and then the charge of burglary, which is 10 years, but the other ones are obviously one life sentences each. So of course he's done for. It looked like they were going to do some kind of press conference, interview, something. They had a staging area. I don't know who's going to speak. Maybe they're thinking the prosecution will share some stuff. It doesn't sound like looks like all the victims' families have jetted out. I really do think that was him. I really think Papa Rogers. Let me know in the chat for those that know about Papa Rogers. That was that weird account that came forward. And certainly new details that, I think only the killer would know. I really think that was him. I hope they do. I really hope we do learn about that. Yeah, the questions. Oh God, yeah, he knew because then was he talking about like the knife, a K-bar, and or something being left behind. Like, God, we could go to those. Rogers. Let's see. Yeah, let's see. Wait, is this it? So you have this one here. No. Wait. What happened to the picture of the... Oh, you guys can't really see that. I forget the big one. Here he says on November 30th. Remember, I can't remember. They caught him in like early December, right? Of the evidence released, the murder weapon has been consistent as a large fixed blade knife. This leads me to believe they found the sheath. Yeah, this is the big one. This evidence was released prior to autopsies. But if I recall, we didn't know about that. Am I wrong? Like maybe the knife, but the sheath was like, what? What sheath? Again, I could be wrong, but I think that was the one was like, what the hell? How do you know that? I know there's more. I know there's some more good ones out there. Of course, it's been a while to find the right ones. Like here he asks like thoughts on the body placement. I mean, really weird. Really weird posts. Yeah. Anyway. All right. This is weird. Hey, Bo. Good to see you. Oh, God bless you. We'll give another 10 minutes. Again, at this point, I don't think any of the family members are going to speak. I think they're gone. I'm trying to look on Twitter to see if like somebody was walking by with a mic and caught something. But if anybody missed like what he did inside, I'll go over it one last time because there was some new details, especially that we learned from that Dateline episode, which is really wild. But basically, here, and actually, while we just wait. Actually, let me save this. 1 second. Oh. Okay, hear audio again. Of course, I'm getting ready to play something and then... Oh. Are they going to end it or what? Did they end it? Oh. Levy. Can't hear you.
County Courthouse in Boise, Idaho. And this is where Bryan Kohberger, in spectacular fashion, just entered pleas of guilty to the murders of Maddie Mogan, Kaylee Gonsalves, Ethan Chapin, and Xana Kernodle. I was sitting right there with a bird's eye view of Bryan Kohberger as he entered those guilty pleas. He sat stoically looking straight at Prosecutor Bill Thompson as he read the statement of facts in this case. And I think we can unpack a little bit of why possibly now the prosecution agreed to this this plea deal. I'm taking some kind of nuggets from what he read and piecing together why possibly he agreed to this. I want to let you know that we have, we were set up over here possibly for a press conference. That non-dissemination order, the gag order in this case, remains in place. That means the state and the defense, the attorneys on both sides, and the law enforcement officers involved in this case cannot distribute any information. They can't make any public statements until after sentencing. The families, however, are not covered by that order. So they may be coming out and may choose to make a statement. They may not. As you know, they've been very particular about who they speak to. Some of them have documentary deals right now and aren't really making a lot of statements. However, if we do see them come out and possibly decide to say something, we will break down and get over there. I want to bring our guests in very quickly, though, to talk about this and unpack this a little bit. Mark Weaver is a special prosecutor in Ohio, and he has prosecuted death penalty cases. Also, Colin Schmidt is a retired FBI agent. I'll start with you, Mark. Your thoughts on what we heard today and Bryan Kohberger approaching the defense or approaching the state and saying, I want to plead guilty, please take the death penalty off the table, and the state agreeing to it.
Yeah, you and I on the air, I don't know, 2 weeks ago, I predicted this is likely to happen. We heard more of the evidence today. It's a circumstantial case, but a very strong circumstantial case. He could see this was coming. The victims now know a little bit more about what happened. It would have been better if he had said it from his own mouth. Perhaps he'll say that at sentencing. They need that closure. But there were people on the internet who said he didn't do it. Well, most of us knew he did, and now we know for sure he did.
Yeah, I'm glad. Yeah. Coward.
What I thought was interesting were some of the things that Bill Thompson said, and I'll let you go right after we talk about this. But he said we had evidence that his phone was connecting to that tower that covered the King Road neighborhood and the residents, but we didn't have evidence
I don't know about
connecting him directly to the 1122 King Road house and the victims inside. And I hear things like that, and it makes me think if they were wondering on the prosecution side, Could this potentially create a little bit of doubt in the minds of some jurors, even though we have the DNA on the knife sheath, even though that is really good circumstantial evidence, we still don't have that connection to the people inside the King Road house and the house specifically. We just have him in the general vicinity, and it's a densely populated area. Could that be one of the reasons why they agreed to this?
Yeah, that's a fair theory. Prosecutors
I think they
would
had
like to get a conviction and get
more than
closure.
enough.
One juror during the guilt phase is enough to hang the trial and send it back to square one. And one juror at the penalty phase is enough to guarantee that it's going to be life in prison. And one juror might be that person hung up on, well, you didn't connect every dot all the way back to him. And so prosecutors would prefer to get some closure. I think that's why. We now know that perhaps they were worried that one or two jurors, not a full jury, would think that that's reasonable doubt, but one or two would be enough to hang the case.
They didn't get him on the RICO.
It might be
then,
enough to get a conviction and get the same result, possibly life without parole and not a death sentence. So you might go through the pain of a trial and the expense of a trial and get the same result, and maybe that was part of the calculus here. We'll find out hopefully soon. Mark Weaver, I know you have to hop off of here. Thank you so much for joining me. We are taking your questions, so please drop them in our YouTube chat, and Colin and I will get to as many of them.
I don't know. She says that the family might give details about what happened. I don't know if they'll do that. Again, they could. I really think, if anything, maybe during the sentencing, because obviously they'll write down, this is what you did to my daughter or son, and maybe go over a little bit of those. I don't know.
Going to ask them to strike the death penalty. The cards are stacked against you, but this is what we're going to do. This is the next motion we're filing. And when everything failed, when all of their motions were denied, maybe
That's
he just
pathetic.
came to the realization, and they had this meeting with him, and they said, you know what, we're at the end of the road, and this is it.
Well, I think they had their own calculus in terms of how much they could put reasonable doubt in front of a jury.
Anyways, guys, been live since 9:03. We've been live for 3 hours. Yeah, thank you, Emo. God, I'm so glad you mentioned that. I keep forgetting tomorrow's the 4th. There was a lot of fireworks going on over the weekend. But yeah, I'm going to definitely edit this video. Probably have it out tomorrow for the members and Patreons first. But I will, if there is something with the interview and the family does release any details, I'll also add that in as well. But I don't want to wait, and then not have anything. And plus, we've been live for 3.5 hours, so I think that's good. We got what we needed. July 23rd will be the sentencing, and then they said here that the gag order. Obviously, people then could file to have that gag order lifted, and then we could learn the evidence. So, I don't know why. I think it's Thursday today for some reason. But yeah, Friday. Thank you. But I just wanted to say, happy 4th, just in case. Oh, hey, Budget, what are the Dateline details?
In this house, just steps from campus, in the early morning,
In that
they have saved the history.
There.
That was of the KI's history. The turn that repeated passes of the King Road house that night before the murders. With evidence like this and
So
our
there's
report, we
Kohberger's
have assembled
car.
a timeline for the weeks, months, and days before and
This
after the
is a trailer to it.
Case that he was actually he's a criminal and I have some
Here's just the highlights again, and because I already went over this, but big thing is BK was starting to say pictures of girls in bikinis on Instagram, and he would take them from Washington State University as well as Idaho State University. And then it just happened to be that one of the girls in Idaho State University, this could be the connection, one of the girls that he obviously was looking at and saving photos from, her friends just happened to be Kaylee, Xana, and Maddie. So that could have been he just went from one account to theirs. And then the Nayun thing is crazy. Yeah, I'd go over that, but I don't want to go over everything. But the other two main things is 3 days before he killed him, he would cease all credit card activity. 2 days, the last 2 days before the murders, he would erase all the data from his school PC. On the night that the murders happened, Kaylee and Maddie were obviously in bed together. He stabbed and punched, I believe, Maddie, which again, I want to say he broke her nose, but anyway, killed both of them. But the other thing we didn't know is Xana. We always kind of thought, obviously she ordered DoorDash and she was on TikTok. I always kind of theorized that after he got done with the girls upstairs, he came down and ran into Xana. But it sounds like Xana actually heard what was going on, probably because she was getting her food and everything. And so she went upstairs, and actually Bryan chased Xana back down the stairs, and she ran to, the bedroom of Ethan and her, her boyfriend. Fortunately, Ethan was passed out drunk on the bed. She put up a fight, sadly was stabbed to death. And Ethan was stabbed in an artery. And the really troubling thing is, one detail we have not heard before, is that Bryan, after stabbing Ethan in the artery, I don't know if it was in the neck or whatever, he literally carved on each of his legs, like cut all the way down, like very disgusting, disturbing detail. Also kind of, remember, that's the room where the blood was coming out on the wall on the other side. So, very disturbing stuff. There's a lot more from the Dateline thing. And of course, we'll probably cover this again. But anyway, yeah, it's Kaylee. Yeah, Gonzalez. Yeah. But yeah, very sick. But anyway, guilty. And if there's more stuff, I will upload that. I know some people are here from Sebastian Rogers or the Lily and Jack Sullivan case. To me, it just seems like a bunch of clickbait when it comes to the Lily and Sullivan case. Like, I'm so sick of it right now. But I will do a video if there's, enough stuff that's worth talking about, because I'm not gonna clickbait and go live and say, oh, hey, they found a body, and then, I don't know. There's a lot of stuff out there, channels that are just doing AI, what I call AI slop out there now in the true crime community. And it's not just true crime, it's all sorts of stuff, and it sucks. But I don't know. What can you do? No. I think he was found in the bedroom, as far as we know. I think both of them were in the bedroom. I think we'll learn more, but it sounds like Xana ran to the bedroom, put up a fight. She was laying down. I think she was laying down like halfway in the doorway, maybe. Because remember, Dylan did see Xana kind of laying down on the floor, so maybe she was kind of blocking the door open. So I think she was like half in the bedroom, half not. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure Ethan was on the bed because he was just passed out drunk, and then of course stabbed, and it's just terrible. Yeah, there's a lot of AI slop out there. It's terrible. It is. I know, and I know it's bittersweet for the family. It really is. All right, guys, I'm going to head out. Thank you to my wonderful mods, Jocelyn, Jennifer, Dee, Michelle. God, I better not forget somebody. Shame on me. Jocelyn, D, Jennifer, Michelle. I don't think Copper Wars. Sensei. God, there's always someone I forget. It's not on purpose. It's just, yeah. The dirt word. I don't know what to believe, honestly. It's weird that the RCMP is so quiet on that case, but oh, thank you, Bo. God bless you. Yeah. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you, mods. God bless you guys. I hope you guys have a great week. Of course, I'll have some videos out, and I'll try to get something for the members and Patreon. Obviously, I'll have to work it and probably have it out tomorrow. But you too, Groovy Gal. Thank you guys so much. And a little bit of justice, not what everybody wants, but it's better than nothing. I think in the long run. So thank you, Hush Pup, and thank you so much for that gifted membership. That is so sweet. And of course, the people that did the PayPal. God bless you guys. All right, guys, we will see you guys soon.